Everybody, how we doing today? How we doing today? Happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Halloween. Of course, now my cat takes the moment to start screaming at me. He's got a lot to say. Hello. All right, let's do greetings. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Eggy. Hello, Torg. Hello. I feel like hello, Ark. Hello. Happy Halloween. Where's Barney? There is no Barney on the stream. I'm sorry. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm so excited. Halloween's my favorite holiday, like, by far. The reason... Oh, do I have this showing in a window somewhere? I feel like I can hear myself, which isn't great. Oh well. Okay. Let's just mute this. There we go. Okay. Happy Halloween, everyone. I think you're using the wrong mic. No, I'm using the right mic. I should be using the right mic. This should be the correct one, right? Yeah, this is the right one. Does it sound different from usual? I did have to change some mic settings so that my mic would sound nice on Fi's stream. It sounds like you're in the background. That feels somewhat appropriate. Let's see if I can do something about this. That is very funny, though, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see. Oh, hello, Mr. Kitty. You've got a lot to say. It's very kitty of you. Yeah, Mr. Kitty has a lot to say. It's okay. What is it, Al? All right. What about the... Okay. Let's try that. How we sound? How we sound? Is this better? Is this better? I hope it's better, because I don't know what else to do. Kitty, it's okay. Sounds good? I don't know. Oh boy. Oh, I'm scared. Maybe I should listen to myself now. What is it, Mr. Kitty? Why are you yelling? Oh man, what a spooky way to start the stream. This is... Oh boy. It sounded good to me before, so I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have a listen. Why can I hear myself? I genuinely don't know why I can hear myself. Huh. I don't like that. I don't like that I can hear myself. What is it, Al? I guess we're gonna have to do some scuff. Like some scuffs fixing today. That is not how I planned to start this stream, but I guess that's what we're doing. Oh. Scuff is eternal. It's true. It's true. I think I have audio monitoring on. And then I just need to figure out how to turn that off. What's your body? What's your baby? Hey, Astral, how you doing? Yeah, you haven't missed anything notable. It's totally fine. Oh my gosh. The cat is screaming. We have Scuff. This is beautiful. It is delightful and great. What is it, Mr. Kitty? My goodness. Soma! Soma, come here. I love you. Come here, Soma. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. So handsome. I hate that I can hear myself doing this. It's horrible. It's driving me a little crazy. Okay. Okay, now I can't hear myself anymore, so that's delightful. I'm so happy that I can no longer hear myself. But is the audio quality okay? Is it feral? It sounds okay to me. It sounds okay to me. Like, it's not great. I need to get a new microphone. I think that's nicer. But other than that, it sounds fine to me. Is this tolerable? Is this okay? I hope this is okay. All right, well, anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. It's tolerable. Okay. Yeah, I think I need to invest in a new mic. I was sitting in preview for the past 8 minutes waiting for the stream to Tyler. Oh no. Don't worry, we're here. Well, you didn't miss anything because I was like trying to troubleshoot some audio stuff for this entire time. So you missed nothing. I was troubleshooting audio stuff and trying to calm down my cat who was screaming. Like cats do. You know, cats have a lot to say, and it's Halloween. What better day to scream than on Halloween, right? If you're a kitty. Uh-oh. Now I'm playing with him. I got his toy in one hand, and I'm staring at the screen with the other. Oh my gosh. And he has run to hide in a paper bag so that he can more effectively hunt the toy. So we're officially in business. Well, hello everybody. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. I don't want to keep you too long on Halloween, so let's get right into this. Also, because I have no patience. I've had this new outfit in the works for like, since like July. But then I just took a lot of time off of it, you know, because it's been a stressful semester and stuff, and I was traveling a lot over the summer. So, but I'm excited to finally share it with you. I'm excited. So, are we ready? Are we ready for the new outfit? Are we ready? I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Oh my gosh, Mr. Kitty, you are a menace. I don't know if you can hear it, but he's running in and out of this paper bag like it's his job, and it's so loud. All right. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm gonna hide myself for a minute. Excited to show Barney. It's not Barney, I promise. So, all right, that's right. Before I gotta give you the extra context. Well, the kitty he is making so much noise, but he's beloved. Paper bag reveal. If I had known, I would have done a paper bag reveal, absolutely. All right, so as you know, all of my outfits are based on different cryptids. This outfit is based on Mothman. My other outfit, oh hey PogChamp Senpai, sorry. So this outfit's based on Mothman. My other outfit is based on the Fresno Nightcrawler, and of course, this new outfit that I'm going to be revealing is no exception. It is also based on a cryptid. This cryptid isn't terribly well known. It is a North American cryptid, specifically an American cryptid. And I think that's all the information that I've revealed so far. It's not super popular, it's fun, and it's based in America. And if you want to try and guess, I would love to hear your guesses. And that can be after I've revealed the outfit. So first, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm gonna hide for a minute. Put on my new outfit. Let me get changed. Does it sing and dance at a children's show? No. No, it does not. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? Okay. Oh. Oops, I think I accidentally revealed stuff a little before I was ready to, but that's okay. Are we ready? Ready? I already guessed it was wrong. I think you made some good guesses though, Tyler. Those are some pretty good guesses. Ah. Oh, right. I didn't reveal it yet because I forgot to... Here we go. I forgot to come back in view of the camera. Here we are. All right, let's show a little bit. Oh, something's happening. Something's happening there. We have some shoes. Oh my gosh, I'm actually wearing normal shoes, like a normal person for once. These are my hiking boots. These are my hiking boots so that I can go up in the mountain. Shut up, Astro. My last model didn't have feet. My last model didn't have feet. So these are my shoes, and there's something else going on there. I wonder what that is. I wonder what those are. How strange. Boot reveal. Exactly. These are my lovely hiking boots. A boot reveal. Hello, Alex. How you doing? I'm showing off my new outfit today. Got some boots. It looks like my pants are kind of scuffed. They're a little scruffy. I know you're hiding your lack of feet with boots. It's true. It's true. But I've also got something going on here. I wonder what that is. I wonder what those are. I know, I think Tyler earlier said tentacles. I'm not Maybe they're tentacles. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't. Maybe. And there's something else moving in the background there, huh? Isn't there? Hmm. Oh, what is that? What is that? Could that be? It's pretty ragged. I've had this for a long time. So it's kind of full of holes. Such is the nature of this particular cryptid. Two-tailed snake? Ooh, interesting thought. And I don't remember Barney having twin tails. That's not what twin tails usually means. Two tails? Might be two tails. Might be one tail that's split at the end. Hard to say. Doing good. Uni's treating me well, but you would not be proud of my sleep. Oh no, Alex. I hope that you're getting enough sleep. I worry. I do. Ooh. Ooh, nice scale texture. Thank you. Feet are rotated. Now we're getting knees. You are getting knees. Oh no. And some sort of like, what's the difference between two tails and one split tail? That's a good question. That's a good question. I figure it's like where the tails split. Like if it's two tails, I figure the tails split where they meet the back. But if it's one tail that's split, I figure they split sometime after they leave the back, right? That's what makes sense to me. Let's go a little further. Ooh! Those are some heavy-duty gloves. Those are some heavy-duty gloves. What am I doing out there in the wild that has me needing such heavy-duty gloves and hiking boots and has my clothes all ripped up? Wonder what I could possibly be doing that requires such heavy-duty clothing and has been so rough on me. Interesting. Field psychology. It's true. I'm out in the field. Banditry? Maybe. Maybe banditry. I don't know if I'd quite define it as banditry. I guess it depends on your point of view. Ooh, are those some scales? Spooky, intellectual, Lovecraftian creature? I don't even know if I wouldn't necessarily call this particular creature intellectual. But perhaps. Lovecraftian, maybe a bit. I'm not sure. I don't know if I would count it as Lovecraftian, but perhaps a little Lovecraftian. A little bit. So I've got scales. I've definitely got scales. Is it an SCP? It is not an SCP. Nope. Oh. Are those fangs? I think those might be fangs. Are those that's a big mouth, isn't it? Mountain boomer? I haven't heard of a mountain boomer before. I searched mountain boomer and all I got was common collared lizard teeth. Lovecraft was more about cephalopods than reptiles. That's true. Ooh, Tyler, you called you boomer. Please don't call me boomer. I'm not a boomer. I mean, like, I am. If you're using boomer in the sense that I'm older than most of chat, that's fine. That's also true, Astral, about Lovecraft. Oh no. Okay, please. My parents were boomers, okay? My parents are boomers. I'm not a boomer. Please don't act like I'm the same age as my parents. Okay. Yep, that's definitely a big pointy mouth. This looks like it's potentially carnivorous. Zoomer? I'm not Gen X either, I'm sorry. I am firmly a millennial. I am firmly in millennial territory, for better or for worse. It's a big scary mouth, isn't it? Ooh, spooky, spooky, spooky. Here we go. Here's the full outfit. Here we go. This is my new full outfit. So we've got big mouth. Yes, I got a big mouth. The Pokemon no. So I have some sort of tail thing here, and note, important for the cryptid, it has little spikes on the end. It's got little spikes on the inner end of the tail. And I've got a big mouth. I've got a big mouth. And I look like I'm dressed for potentially mountain climbing or something a bit like that. I wonder what this could mean. I think I get to introduce you to a new cryptid. Unless anyone's got any last minute guesses. I do have some toggles, by the way, but this is how I'm going to show it. I think this is where the cryptid is most obvious, so I'm going to leave it like this for a bit. I should pull up a image. I can't think of one? That's fair. That's fair. I love the eyes. Thank you. It looks cool, but I have no clue. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's hard. This one is not terribly well known. I don't know this. Yeah, this one's not super well known. I think it deserves to be better known than it is. The cryptid that I am today is called... Only snake cryptid I know is the Tsuchinoko, and it only has one tail. True. This is not actually a snake cryptid. I do have scales on it, but that's more of a stylistic choice than like a lore thing. Here we go. Let me introduce you to the slide rock bolter. This is a slide rock bolter costume. The slide rock bolter is a cryptid largely known in Colorado. What it does is you lied to us about the scales and big fish, kind of. It's supposed to look like a giant whale, a bit. Fish, yeah, kind of fishy. What it does is it's a giant whale-sized creature, and it goes up to the top of mountains. Here, it goes up to the top of mountains. That's why Colorado. In Colorado, they have a lot of mountains. And what it does is it latches on to the tops of mountains and large hills with its pointy tail. Looks like it's from back when whales were fish, yeah. So it's got a split tail that has like hooks or spikes on the end, sometimes multiple, sometimes one, depending on what you're looking at. And it hooks those things on the top of the mountain, and it hangs from the mountain, and it waits for people. It's a fearsome critter. Yeah. It waits for people to walk by, and when people walk by on the mountain pass, it lets go of the top of the mountain, and it slides down the mountain, scoops people up or creatures up in its mouth, and then its momentum carries it to the top of the next mountain, where it latches on with its tail, and it waits for its next victims. That's a slide rock bolter. It is indeed a fearsome critter. This one is not so much a cryptid in that it doesn't really seem like there's any chance anyone ever actually thought that this really existed. Like, I don't think the physics check out there. I don't think the physics check out there either. It's not how momentum works. Yeah. Oh, this thing doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Oh, it doesn't? That's a shame. But I think the general idea here is that the slide rock bolter is probably like a sort of folklore explanation for landslides or the environmental destruction caused by mining. Both of those are possible. Is that the explanation for whale skeletons on beaches? I don't think so. I don't think so. There aren't many beaches in Colorado. But yep, it's a slide rock bolter. It has a villain's wiki entry. What a weird thing to have. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Now let me show you my lovely toggles on this one. Let's start out by coming in real close, right over here. Oh, there we go. All right. Let's see. I think first, occupation, predator. Yeah, yep. I mean, that's what it is. It slides down the mountain and it eats people. It swallows them. I don't know why it has teeth, since it just seems to kind of swallow people whole. Crimes, mass murder, mass consumption. It swallowed the bird brain. It did. With a fearsome critter choice, I'm surprised you didn't choose Squonk, my beloved. Let's see. S-Q-U-O-N-K. Is that the Squonk? Oh my gosh, it's lovely. Maybe I'll do the Squonk sometime in the future. Oh my gosh. Maybe that could be a future outfit. For now, no. The Slide Rock Bolter holds a very special place in my heart. But maybe in the future. And that's right, I should clarify. Fearsome critters qualify as cryptids as far as my outfits are concerned, if that wasn't clear by now. Alright, let's see. If I don't really remember all the toggles on here. I guess you can see... I've still got my eye bags, if that was a concern. The eyes need to glow more. Yeah, I was debating whether I should make the eyes, like, glow through the shadow of the hood. I might still go back and do that, because I like that idea. I didn't end up testing it. But... So I've still got my eye bags. I can still have eye bags or not. I could still have my face shadow or not, which I had on for this, just for the sake of, you know, suspense. What else have I got? Oh, I've got my glasses. I can still put on my glasses. Hey, Warpy, how you doing? Are those mountains in the hoodie eyes? Oh, that wasn't intentional, but you could read them that way. Absolutely. I like that. Let's see what else. Oh, I think this one might be my gloves. I can take off my gloves in case I don't need them. Yeah, there you go. Oh, look at my skin. Isn't that spooky? I had fun with this one. Let's see, this one, I can take my hood down. Here's my new hairstyle. So I can have my hood down. Now you can actually see my face properly. What cryptid am I? I am the Slide Rock Bolter. I'm the Slide Rock Bolter today. Mm-hmm. I hang out on mountaintops, and when people pass by, I swoop on down and I swallow them whole. Neat hair, thank you, nice face, thank you. I really like this one. I like this one. For all of the parts that are part of me and not just clothing, I inverted the shading. I've not heard of it. Yeah, it's a pretty obscure one. It's a fearsome critter is the technical. I like how the skin looks on the hand. Me too. I actually this is true of all of my models, but I do have the entire model without all the clothes on. Because the skin all looks like this. It's like, rather than the usual like scaly bits that I have, it's all like kind of cracked rock, and I like it a lot. I think it looks really cool. Let's see what else I've got. Or of course I can put my hood up or take it down. Let's see. Maybe I should give you siblings in the comic. Are these siblings? I wonder. That's so cool. Thank you. Oh, and I can take that off. I can take off my hoodie. So here I am without the gloves and without the poncho jacket thing. Here we go. Mm-hmm. And of course I've got my feather to remind me of where I came from. Is that everything? I think that's everything. Mm-hmm. So there you go, there's my new outfit. How does the tails attach? They come out of my spine. That's why, see how my shirt is a little kind of like weirdly untucked and stuff? It's because they're coming out of like my spine. And so the shirt has to be at least somewhat untucked so that it can come out. No removing the boot, no. In fact, the one part of my body under these clothing that I didn't draw was whatever goes under the boots. That's not here. All right, I'm putting my jacket back on. I can keep the hood off. I need to find, there's my gloves. I can put my gloves back on. All right. But I think I'm gonna keep the hood down. Because I like this new hairstyle. It's so nice and fluffy. All right. All right, are we ready? Are we ready to start reading some stuff? Are we ready to read our article for today? I'm ready. Floofy, yeah, it's so nice and floofy. I also like how the highlight of the eyes can cross over my pupils and make them look extra scary sometimes. I like that. Oh, I need to get the spreadsheet open. Uh-oh. No pressure. No pressure at all. No pressure. Okay. All right, let me get myself out of the way. I'm gonna go over here in my traditional spot. You become cross. I do become cross-eyed in a sense of the word. All right, here we go. Here is the article that we're reading today. It is called Why Do You Like Scary Movies? A review of empirical research on psychological responses to horror films. So this is a review article as opposed to like, we've usually been reading empirical articles that are like, you know, studies that look at stuff. This is a review article where they're reviewing a whole bunch of empirical studies. And I'm very excited to read it. I hope that you are all excited too. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Oh, I did get a glass of water, by the way. I did get a glass of water. So this is by Dr. Martin. I think this guy is a doctor. Yeah. And I don't know. Are we ready? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Let's freaking do this. Let's read the article. We're gonna win. Okay. I have not read any of this yet, by the way. I just looked at the title. I was like, oh, this is a cool title. This is open access. Might as well read it. Sounds like fun. So, all right. Let's see. What? Legit was reading papers for my dissertation and getting tripped up by them not being formatted like psychology ones. I've corrupted you. We've corrupted you, Astral. This will be interesting because I actually don't like anything that's intended to scare me. Ooh, interesting, Alex. Interesting. I love horror. Like, I do not like scary movies. I like scary movies. I like horror, but my problem is, like, I can't watch many scary movies because, one, I hate jump scares. I hate jump scares. Like, one, I'm very easily jump scared, and two, I feel like they're cheap. They feel like cheap. They're not, like, actually trying to, like, build an atmosphere of dread. They're just relying on, like, reflexes, and I think they're cheap. I don't respect jump scares in horror, and also I don't like sex scenes, and those show up a lot of horror. So I struggle to find horror movies that are comfortable for me to watch. Most of the horror movies that fit my general watching criteria are made for children, and that's just sad. Very resistant to jump scares from childhood playing FNAF fan. Very, very fair. I'm notoriously bad with jump scares. For a while there, when it was like really bad, like it comes and goes, but when it was really bad, it was a running joke in my department that I was bad with jump scares, and other faculty and graduate students would startle me for fun. It became like a game to them. I don't know how I feel. Like, I'm glad that they were having fun as opposed to like pitying me, but I kind of wish that they didn't take advantage of it so much for their own entertainment. Oh, I caught you. Hey, I caught you doing. How you doing? Oh, you missed the stream. There was a stream where people asked me to explain Fate lore, and I tried to explain the lore of the entire Fate franchise. And I was thinking of you. I was thinking of you. Free FNAF game. Ooh, I've never played a FNAF game. Maybe I should try it. I'm jumpy IRL but media resilient. Interesting, interesting. Really? Yeah, I did. I did. I think it was the Q&A Ask a Psychologist stream. We ran out of questions and then somebody suggested explaining Fate lore. I didn't get super far. I only got through the second Grail War, I think. Because I had to explain the whole like lore to set up the Grail Wars and why they existed and stuff like that. And then I got through the second Grail War, and then finally somebody asked me a psychology question or something. So I didn't get super far. Maybe one day I'll just do a stream where I talk through the entire Fate lore from memory. All right, anyway. Why do we watch and like horror films? Despite a century of horror filmmaking and entertainment, little research has examined the human motivation to watch fictional horror and how horror film influences individuals' behavioral, cognitive, and emotional responses. This review provides the first synthesis of the empirical literature on the psychology of horror film using multidisciplinary research from psychology, psychotherapy, communication, development, clinical psychology, and media studies. I like how they separated clinical psychology from psychology. Like, I mean, I guess in some ways they're a little, but they're both psychology. Clinical psychology is part of psychology. I think that distinction is just very funny to me. I can appreciate scary world building, but that's more something I'm appreciating. Something puts a lot of work into it, but some horror stuff is just glaring logical flaws. Yeah, it has some glaring logical flaws, but I think that's part of the fun, honestly. Especially, I just like messing with my own brain. So like if I really like playing around like bullshitting reasons why the logical flaws don't work out. Or why the logical flaws actually could potentially be logical. I like coming up with explanations for that. Anyway, this paper considers how the motivations for people's decision to watch horror, why people enjoy horror, how individual differences influence responses to and preference for a horror film, how exposure to horror film changes behavior, how horror films designed to achieve its effects, why we fear specific classes of stimuli. It sounds like a lot of these might potentially, at least indirectly, address some of the stuff that we've been talking about. And how liking for horror develops during childhood and adolescence. I might be the exception where I don't like horror one bit in core anime. A lot of the people in this chat don't seem to be big fans of horror, oddly enough. Doesn't seem like your regular... Maybe I should play FNAF. Maybe I should download this and try playing FNAF. I've never tried it. But for now, I've got to play more Pokemon. I'm 2 Pokemon away from finishing the Pokedex in ZA, so... I might bug Astral later, actually, because I need some help on one of them. Anyway. This literature suggests that low empathy and fearfulness are associated with more enjoyment and desire to watch horror film, but specific dimensions of empathy are better predictors for people's responses than others. This is interesting because I actually read another paper earlier this week that showed that more empathy was associated with liking horror films. So this is interesting. It was a specific type of empathy, so I wonder if that's why they mean specific types of empathy, but it's interesting. Oh no, I'm sorry, Michael. Leo Cup as well. That's true, but I don't really prepare for the challenge meets. Hey, CDM, happy Halloween. I have a living dex already. Nice. Have I done my 1,000 battles? I have not done my 1,000 battles yet, I don't think. My problem with the living dex, I'm trying to get a living dex, but you know how you only get 2 whipped dreams to evolve Slurpuff? I used the trade codes to try and trade evolve a Slurpuff. And both of my attempts at trying to evolve a Slurpuff, the other person did not give their Slurpuff a whipped dream, or did not give their Pokemon a whipped dream. So both of my attempts failed because the other person was an airhead twice in a row. I'm so mad about it. And like at the time I didn't know how to check if the Pokemon was holding items. So now I just need to either hope somebody's very kind and gives me a Slurpuff, which I'm not going to ask Astral to do. I might ask Astral for a touch trade, so I at least can complete the Pokedex, if not get a living dex. And then, oh, good job. I hadn't figured out how to check yet. Oh, sleep well, Tyler. Take care. But yeah, my only other option, the only thing that I can do to complete my living dex is either wait for Pokemon Home or grind the ZA tournament thing and hope desperately that I get the 3% chance of getting a whipped dream as the reward for a ranking battle, which sucks. But that's what I've been doing because I don't really seem to have much of another choice. Anyway, I really liked Scarlet and Violet. I was a huge fan. But anyway, I should get back to reading because I'm gonna go to my friend's place and I'm gonna hand out candy this evening. I love handing out candy and seeing all the costumes and seeing all the decorations on Halloween, so I want to make sure that I have time to do that. So I better get reading. But anyway, yeah, this is interesting because this is not consistent with what another thing it found. Yeah, it's Halloween. Happy Halloween. But that's not consistent with another paper that I read more recently. There is a positive relationship between... You have 2 spare whipped dreams. Astral, if you're willing to if you're willing to use a whipped dream to get me if you're willing to get me a Slurpuff, I would super appreciate it. I would trade you whatever. Not that you need anything because you have but like I would appreciate that so much. Thank you. Like, I shouldn't thank you because you haven't agreed to anything yet, but I may ask you later, like, hey, Astral, you want to trade? You want to trade? I come in and the first thing I hear is slurp off. Slurpuff! Yeah, it's chill. I'm not going to use them. Astral, thank you. It's an evolution item. It's an evolution item in Pokemon. I need it for the living dex. I need it to get a living dex. I'm putting my hood up. Hello, Cleeper. I didn't know the Pokemon... It does go this hard. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to go this hard. I just want a living dex. I try and build a living dex in every Pokemon game that I play, so. Anyway, okay. There is a positive relationship between sensation seeking and horror enjoyment and preference, which makes sense, right? Like if you want to seek sensations, going into movies that are intended to like raise your heart rate makes sense. But this relationship is not consistent. Ooh, interesting. Men and boys prefer to watch, enjoy, and seek out horror more than women and girls. I don't know. I feel like that hasn't super been consistent with my experience with my friends, but that could just be that my friends are a very particular type of person, which would not surprise me at all. Women are more prone to discuss sensitivity or anxiety than are men. This may mediate the sex difference. Oh, did they test that? That does not match, right, Torg? That doesn't match my experience either, but who knows? I appreciate the dedication to cosplaying encrypted by lowering the quality of your sound to a potato recorder. Oh no! Why? Why is this happening? So it's you and Eggy who both say my sound is awful. What has happened? Why is my sound... See, now I'm gonna go and get distracted and, like, look again at my sound and test it out. Oh. And now I'm gonna get distracted by this. Oh gosh, that does sound awful. Why? Why? That is so upsetting. I don't know. I don't like it either. That's not how I would like it. Hey, be nice! Be nice! Now I'm just gonna cry forever. That's pretty impressive if I cry forever. What about this? Is this any better? That is a bit better. That sounds a bit better. Right? Is this better? I think it sounds better. Yes, okay. I don't know what that was or how I did that or Moe plus 100. No. Point and laugh so the usual. Yep, but low. Okay, yeah. I can turn it up a little bit. Yep, that's not. There we go. There we go. We are so back. We are so back. Okay, I need to turn off audio monitoring again. Okay, because I don't like hearing my own voice. There we go. Okay, all better. Life is good. Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, where were we? Where were we? Right. We're so back in the back rooms. There we go. There, that's what I want. All right. Younger children are more afraid of symbolic stimuli, whereas older children become more afraid of concrete and realistic stimuli. That's interesting. I would have expected the that to be different. Let's find out exactly what they mean by symbolic stimuli and keep reading. We're so in the back rooms.
And in terms of coping with horror, physical coping strategies are more successful with younger children. Priming with information about the feared object reduces fear and increases children's enjoyment of frightening television and film. What's the paper we're reading? Why do you like scary movies? A review of the empirical research on psychological responses to horror films by G. Neil Martin. I believe there should be a link to it and the full APA-style citation in the description if you want to read along. A number of limitations in the literature is identified, including multifarious range of horror stimuli used in... Multifarious? I don't think I've heard that word before, but I think it's pretty easy to guess what it means. Just like, there's been a variety. Like, people aren't using the same horror stimuli in their studies. Disparities in methods, small sample sizes, and lack of research on cross-cultural differences in similar... I would love to see research on cross-cultural differences in horror. Might sound as a tangent, but have I watched JJK? Yeah, I've watched Jujutsu Kaisen, and I've read the entire manga. I am not current on the spin-off manga that just came out a couple weeks ago, or like last month or something like that. But yeah, I've watched JJK, and I've read the entire manga. Multifarious as opposed to multifarious. True. Ideas for future research are explored. Okay, here we go. Here's our introduction. I'm looking at the scroll bar on my computer, and I'm like, maybe I should have checked how long this article was before I decided to read it. That's a little scary. But we're in it now. We're in it now. We can always make this a two-part stream if we have to. Anyway. We've got a quote from Hume. 17,901 words. Okay, well, let's do this. That's fine. It seems an unaccountable pleasure which the spectators of a well-written tragedy receive from sorrow, terror, anxiety, and other passions that are in themselves disagreeable and uneasy. Well, how often do you remember that the cursed part of the anime is meant to be horror? I saw many reactors forget that they should be creeped out. I think the problem with like Jujutsu Kaisen and shonen horror stuff is that horror, a lot of the actual horror-y bits comes from a feeling of helplessness. Whereas, go for it, Cleaper. I think a major component of horror is feeling helpless. Like there's nothing you can do. And that doesn't necessarily mix too well with shonen manga and anime, because part of the aspect of shonen manga and anime is becoming stronger so that you can deal more directly with the horror and so that you're not helpless, right? So I think Jujutsu Kaisen, especially in the earlier chapters, was doing well at horror, and the curses were pretty creepy to start out with, but as it became more like, as the characters started powering up more and gained more power, you know, and like got stronger, the horror aspect kind of went away, both in terms of like how the curses were portrayed for the most part, and the fact that the characters weren't nearly as helpless anymore and could actually do something. So it no longer became so much horror as it became like action and suspense, if that makes sense. Like I know that I think I will always and forever recommend Hell's Paradise, or Jigoku Raku. I think that's the manga in particular. The anime, I don't think the anime did it that well. The manga, I think, did incredible, because even throughout most of it, it still feels like the characters, even though they're growing stronger and getting better able to cope with things, it still feels kind of horror-y. On the topic of Rika, she's scary and people felt it. Now they care for her. Is that related to empathy mentioned here? Possibly. Possibly. I think the thing with Rika is that another aspect of horror, I think, that's important for making people afraid, and I think this relates to that feeling of helplessness, is not understanding what's going on. And I think that the more we learned about Rika, the less scary she became. You know, like, the more you learn about a scary thing, the less scary it gets. That's why, like, things like the SCP Foundation rely a lot on redactions. Like, part of that's for flavor, but another part is, like, the less information you have, the scarier something is. Yeah, I'd say Madoka can count as cosmic horror. Hey Z, how you doing? I'm loving the new move fit. Thank you so much. I like it a lot. The more I learned about her, the more I got scared. I think Rika's super I hate that I'm going on a tangent. Hiatus return, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't announced that I'm off my hiatus yet, and I don't know how often I'll be able to stream or do stuff, but like I've done 2 streams since I started my hiatus, so maybe I'm not on hiatus anymore. I don't know. I learned how she got to the hospital. Yeah, yeah. No, like I think one see the thing about Rika is that when you read her extra information, like like you read the information that we get about Rika's background and backstory, I think she still remains scary because it's that information does help you learn more about her, but it implies a lot but never confirms it. There's still a lot of unknowns. It raises more questions than it gives answers, and that's how Rika maintains the spookiness around her, because her all of the things that we know about her backstory from that like little extra create more unknowns, as opposed to like they give you some more information about her, but mostly they create more unknowns where you can fill in the blank. Are we spoiling Madoka? Oh no, no, no. I'm talking about Rika from Jujutsu Kaisen. Schrodinger's hiatus, that's exactly what's going on here. We are very much in Schrodinger's hiatus right now. I'm yet to watch it. Madoka's good. I do recommend Madoka. I worry that it might be overhyped these days, but it's good. I understand now. Thanks for humoring me. Yeah, no problem. I'm always happy to talk about anime. I love talking about anime. I'll talk about anime forever. But I do gotta read this so that I have time to play Pokemon before I go and hand out candy. All right. Why do people enjoy watching horror films, and why is it important or useful question to ask? The primary aims of horror films are to frighten, shock, horrify, and disgust, using a variety of visual and auditory leitmotifs and devices, including reference to the supernatural, the abnormal, to mutilation, blood, gore, and the infliction of pain, death, deformity, putrefaction, darkness, invasion, mutation, extreme instability, and the unknown. Oh my gosh. I think the part that doesn't let shonen be horror is the expectation that heroes will overcome it in the end. Chainsaw Man doesn't count. Chainsaw Man is based. Yeah, I think Chainsaw Man is good in that it's never clear if the hero will overcome it, and often it feels like the hero won't overcome it in the end. Though on the other hand, I think Chainsaw Man leans really heavily into horror, which can or humor, which can kind of blunt the horror to some extent. Like I think humor can be balanced with horror very effectively, but I think Chainsaw Man's leaning into humor a lot. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, by the way. I think it's fun. I really appreciate that Fujimoto allows his characters to be complete dorks. I love that so much. All of his characters are cringe losers, even Makima to an extent. But yeah, I think it's not. Like, it is kind of horror-y, but it's not super horror-y. It is definitely very absurd. I saw the movie, by the way. Last week I went to theaters and saw the movie, and it was... Mappa really outdid themselves. Yes, I have seen the new movie. It was incredible. Mappa outdid themselves. They did... It's incredible. I'm so glad that I got to see it in a theater. That deserves to be experienced at a theater. And I think there's a Wilhelm scream in there. I'm pretty sure. I've talked to 3 people now. And all 3 of the people that I've talked to have confirmed that they also think they heard a Wilhelm scream in there. And frankly, knowing Fujimoto, it would make a lot of sense if there was a... I don't want to listen to the awful local dub. Oh, my theater, luckily, was doing both dub showings and sub showings, so I managed to catch one of the subbed ones. I might go back and watch the dub, though. Someone spoiled Chainsaw Man to me, so I'm not watching it. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I think I'm current on Chainsaw Man, or at least within a chapter of the manga. Anyway, let's get back to reading. It is the emphasis on these characteristics that tend to distinguish horror from the related genre of thriller or psychological thriller. Yeah, it's more... Those, like, might have those elements, but they won't be as focused on those elements. I think that makes sense. Thrillers are designed to create suspense and terror, but the creation of these feelings is dependent not on the presence of mutilation, gore, or the supernatural, but via more human devices, right? Just having that stuff on its own is not going to be enough to make people afraid. You've got to get in their heads These boundaries, however, can be fuzzy. If these features are utilized in thrillers, they are not the principal focus of the film, but are incidental to it. An example would be the ear-cutting scene in Reservoir Dogs, which is bloody and brutal, but is contained within a film which has a non-horror theme, together with westerns, science fiction, comedy, musicals, documentaries, and other film genres which are characterized by particular tropes, styles, themes, characters, and visual leitmotifs. Horror sets itself apart from other films via its distinctive characteristics. I'm curious to see what they think they are. I've been spoiled by so much of Chainsaw Man, but mentally can't map it together, so I have no idea about the plot still. That's fair. It's like omniscient reader's viewpoint. I'm big into omniscient reader's viewpoint, and there's this YouTube video that's freaking hilarious. It's omniscient reader's viewpoint summarized in 6 minutes, and you watch it and you have no idea what it spoils the entire series. But it's just so, the spoilers are so out of pocket, like out of context. They are so meaningless that like nothing. Hey, Cheers, how you doing? Is Chainsaw Man considered horror? I don't think it's considered horror. I'm not sure if it's technically under that genre. I know Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Hell's Paradise were considered kind of like the dark trio, I believe, of like shonen for a while there. And so they're definitely darker themes than traditional like shonen-y manga and stuff, but I'm not sure if it would strictly be horror. It definitely has horror elements. But yeah, horror-inspired comedy, I think, makes sense. And tragedy, action horror more than horror. Yeah, I think that's a good distinction. Yeah. I think I did see Chainsaw Man in horror category in Crunchy. Yeah, I think action horror is probably the best way to describe it, though I think horror is not the primary genre of Chainsaw Man. I would not consider horror its primary genre. Those genres are just like oversimplifications anyway, so anyway, okay. Although commercially successful, the cinematic reputation of a horror film has been less than stellar. It's frequently regarded, if it's regarded at all, as one of the runt of the cinema family and held in lower esteem than other film categories. I've noticed that, unless it's existential horror. I can kind of see that with Chainsaw Man a bit, yeah. Observe that horror film occupies in popular culture roughly comparable to horror literature. That is to say, it's generally ignored, sometimes acknowledged with a bemused tolerance, and viewed with alarm when it irritates authority, rather like a child too spirited to follow the rules that rendition has deemed acceptable, a view that is echoed elsewhere. I have noticed that horror tends to be treated like lowbrow-ish. It's kind of like, it's not really treated with the same respect as other genres like drama and stuff will get, for the most part. Which makes me sad. It's all entertainment at the end of the day. A taste of horror is a taste for something particularly abnormal and is therefore deemed to require special attention. Part of the reason for the disdain, apart from the broad and base nature of the content, may be for the relative cheapness of horror film. They're often much less expensive to create than other genres films. I watched a really interesting video essay actually last night about why low-budget horror films tend to do better than high-budget horror films. And honestly, that was like the premise of the video essay. They didn't actually really address that. They mostly just listed cases where high-budget versus low-budget films, where the low-budget one did better. So they didn't really argue for it, but I would argue that, like, if it's too polished, you lose some of the horror aspects, if that makes sense. I think also part of Chainsaw Man is that it really shifts toward a form of horror is the perception that even with all those power, Denji still lives within the constraints of his traumas and whatnot. I agree. I think the true horror of Chainsaw Man is the amount of exploitation, like the way that they are treating, like the way that Denji's naivety and immaturity is routinely exploited by the people around him, kind of deal. How could comedies possibly be more expensive to produce than anything else? Who knows? Like, the way that the show treats his immediate attraction to every woman he meets drives the plot of how he's stuck in the dark mental spaces as well. Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah, it's... I think the real horror is that Denji, because of his trauma, and because of his past, is trapped in a state where he does not have mental maturity. Like, he's pretty immature. He struggles to mature. He is deeply traumatized and has not been given a safe environment in which to grow up. He's seeking safety, and he's seeking what he thinks he's supposed to want, which is women. And he's seeking safety from these women as well. And every single time they exploit him, and they exploit that. Nobody is trying to actually save Denji. No one is actually trying to help Denji. They are all exploiting his weakness and immaturity and his trauma. And I think that's the real horror part of Chainsaw Man, is that this poor boy is consistently being cold-heartedly exploited by everybody around him. Anyway. Right. The first horror film can probably be dated to 1855 or 1850. Yeah, and watching that doesn't sound like a good time to me. That's very, very fair. That's very fair, Torg. It is hard to watch, I would say, sometimes. Like, watching the movie was incredible, but, like, watching it knowing what was gonna happen was rough. It was like, oh yeah, I know where this is going. Like, I know this is supposed to be... Well, I think the direction did a really good job of it, of, like, making it look like this is a cute scene, but then superimposing it with, like, certain types of symbolism that made it clear this is not cute, something sinister is happening kind of deal. Ironically, it's a way better take on the dark and gritty superhero world than the actual genre, because it's a great juxtaposition to the human element in its inescapable even in the super world. Yeah. 13.3 words per minute. I know, Astro. It's okay, I still hold the V Theorem record, so I'm not gonna rush too much. Or at least I'm not gonna feel too bad about the fact that I'm going slow. Though I do want to get back to playing Pokemon. Okay. The Lumiere brothers, Le Rêve d'un train de gare de la Chotat? I can't French, I'm sorry. Depicts the arrival of a train into a station, the appearance of which, if anecdotal, although possibly apocryphal accounts are to be believed, resulted in the audience becoming consumed with a fear that the train would emerge from the screen, such was the novelty of the depiction at the time. Interesting. Potato. Okay. In terms of industry regard, the reputation of horror has not been high. The American Academy of Motion Picture Arts, which awards the Oscars, has nominated only 6 horror supernatural films for the Best Picture, and only one has won an award. The Silence of the Lambs in 1992. I remember hearing about The Silence of the Lambs winning an award because it was the longest movie title to ever win an Oscar or something like that. They were making such a big deal about how it was the longest title for a movie to ever win an Oscar, and I'm like, that's such a weird thing. I mean, even if we deviate from the content, we're still engaging in the topic this time. It's true, we're still talking about horror, and honestly, this channel started as me wanting to talk about the intersection between psychology and anime, so I don't really consider it off topic to be talking about Chainsaw Man as horror and stuff like that. Like, anime was always intended to be one of the main topics on this channel, so... I feel like I haven't talked about it on this channel as much as I would like to lately. But yeah, looking forward to a light novel adaptation winning an Oscar. Maybe one day, who knows? Other horror films that have been nominated include The Exorcist, Jaws, The Sixth Sense, Black Swan, and Get Out. The latter, also nominated for Best Comedy Musical at the Golden Globes, was winner of the Oscar for Best Screenplay. Industry recognition for horror film was tended to be reserved for technical achievements, hence the Oscars awarded for Best Art Direction and Cinematography, Best Score, Best Visual Effects, and Best Makeup. And numbers of actors have won Oscar nominations for Horror Roses Low. There are some exceptions. The only Japanese voiceover and sub version near me subs in the language I don't speak. I'm so sorry. Oh, thank you for all the hearts, by the way. I'm not sure what those are there for, but I appreciate them. Despite the relative lack of formal industry recognition and professional respect, horror thrives. Oh my gosh, I saw the movie adaptations of it, the more recent ones, they were really good. I want to rewatch them. I wonder if I can find them streaming today as like a late night thing to watch for Halloween night. Definitely possible that an anime about seiyus will show up. Hasn't there already been an anime about seiyus? I feel like there was. Get Out was really good. I watched it the other day and all the idea was okay-ish. I thought the execution was flawless, save for the ending. I have yet to see Get Out. I haven't actually seen any of the movies by that guy, which is unfortunate. I really got to get around to that because I've heard they're all like really good in their own way. Okay. This is just like, I feel like this is longer than it needs to be, really. This is just longer, like, okay, we get it. Like, horror is not respected. Like, this whole paragraph is just like, horror doesn't get that much respect in the film industry. This whole paragraph is just, but people like it. You know, like, I feel like this is more than necessary. There have been a few, they're like Hollywood movies about LA. Yeah, right? Girlish Number was one of them. Yeah, I know, there was that one by the artist who did Death Note. Or was it the writer who did the artist who did Death Note, where one character was becoming a voice actress and the other was becoming a mangaka? I know there was that one too. I think there was a Cute Girls Do Cute Things one as well, somewhat recently. When I cite every review score of every movie within the last 20 years, I don't know what the means in standard deviations are. Bakuman, that's it. Yeah, Bakuman, that's what I was thinking of. I found one about it, it's not safe for work. Oh, oops. The commercial enthusiasm exists against the backdrop of considerable fan enthusiasm for the genre, as evidenced by the number of major, significant, genre-specific international film festivals with it is. Oh my gosh, okay, and now they're just, like, listing film festivals. Here they're listing magazines about horror, websites, streaming services like streaming services that specialize in horror, channels that specialize in horror. Given the popularity of horror film, a useful question to explore is why people are attracted. They're finally getting to this is why we should care. This is great for the words per minute. It's true, Torg. Does this count as cheating? Am I cheating? I don't know. Histor has formed. Would you count Gilgamesh as horror? The Epic of Gilgamesh as horror? I mean, I would consider like the going into the forest, the cedar forest to fight Humbaba. There were some horror elements there, I would say. I'm not sure if I would fully consider it horror, though. As somebody who's read, like, 5 different translations of the Epic of Gilgamesh, I don't know if I would really consider it horror. I think, I do think, though, specifically the scenes with Humbaba, would lean more towards horror. If the Epic of Gilgamesh includes Fate, then yes. I'm talking about, like, the original epic. Like, I love Fate's interpretation of Enkidu in particular, but, like, original epic, I guess there are horror elements. I would not consider the whole thing horror, though. And English Beowulf. I haven't read Beowulf, so I can't say, but my impression was that it was more like, the epic has this weird disconnected side story about them going to the underworld. That is true, but there's a lot of questions about whether that was basically fanfic or not. Like, there's a lot of debate over whether the journey to the underworld was an original part of the epic or whether it was basically fanfic. As someone who hasn't read the Epic of Gilgamesh, I judge it to be horror. I'm afraid of long. It's not that long. It's really not that long at all. Seriously considering watching Odyssey as horror after watching the musical. Ooh, that sounds interesting. There are definitely some horror-y scenes. Beowulf is not even slightly horror. It's about a cool guy who kills cool. That's been my impression of Beowulf, right? Like, that's kind of what I thought it was about. So I was like, is that horror? I don't know if that's horror. I think the Epic of Gilgamesh's conclusion is all about Gilgamesh coming to terms with his own mortality, which I guess you could kind of consider that horror. But he ends up coming to, like, making peace with the fact that he will one day die and becoming a great king, and I'm not sure if I would consider that horror. But I guess, like, storytelling was different back then, so maybe it was intended as a bit horror-y. I don't know. I wouldn't really consider it horror. Is Beowulf a self-insert power fantasy? Unclear. Beowulf is only a horror. The giant lizard and Superman makes it horror. Most Greek heroes are tragedy stories in a world of horror stories. Yeah, that makes sense. The Gothic tradition, a period that covers blah 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 blah. Although modern horror clearly has its roots and traditions in Gothic horror, I want to read or at least watch Gilgamesh. Now, is there a way to? Surely there's been a movie adaptation of Gilgamesh, but you can find PDFs of the translated Epic of Gilgamesh for free online, totally legally. Like, it's very easy to find. Very easy to get your hands on. I think my partner owns, like, at least 3 copies of the Epic of Gilgamesh. I own only 1 copy of it physically, but I have at least like 2 PDFs downloaded. Yeah, Gilgamesh is way older than copyright, true. Some of the translations of it are probably new enough to be subject to some form of copyright, but you know. Anyway, okay, where were we? Victorian literature has exerted a much greater and directer influence, as evidenced by reimagining and remakes based on literary creations from this period, like Dracula, Frankenstein. Oh, I heard the Frankenstein movie by Guillermo del Toro was good. Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Phantom of the Opera, Dr. Moreau, Dorian Gray, and the monsters and protagonists in Grimm's fairy tales and the trolls of Nordic literature. I just read it in the original cuneiform. Oh, man. Oh, boy. These figures have been interpreted and reinterpreted throughout the 20th and 21st centuries in different fictionalized forms in theater, drama, radio, and especially film, given the longevity of horror as a genre in history and cinema. What is it? Okay, once again, I feel like this is way longer than it needs to be. Yeah. After watching Pinocchio, wouldn't be surprised if Frankenstein is good and nothing like the original. Yeah, some of the comments that I've heard Del Toro make, like in interviews about it, are interesting. But considering it took me months to finish the first volume of Alice in Wonderland, I might prefer an audiobook. Audiobooks are nice. Although, isn't the original... Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ways you can adapt it. There's probably some pretty interesting methods. Anyway, right, paper. The study of individuals' response to horror can be illuminating for several reasons. We're finally getting to why this is important to study. Like, I get all of this is also trying to establish why it's important to study, but like, this is like, I feel like it probably went on longer than it needed to. But I think that shows that this author is very passionate about this topic, which makes me happy. What is it that draws people to this particular study? Wanting a source of self-knowledge, probably. But transforming the form of the work, not just the plot. Yeah. Oh no, that movie I mentioned was cut off due to money problems. Oh, boo. This... A mockumentary would be great for Frankenstein. I'm sure like some people have done like short kind of versions of that, but I would love to see. Okay, anyway. The study of individuals' response to horror can be illuminating for several reasons. It may help us understand why people are attracted to a very commercially successful genre of films making but one, which is why people... It's commercially successful because people are attracted to it. Like, I guess I'm a little confused about why this introduction is treating it as if commercial success and people liking a thing are two separate things. I think most things that are commercially successful, at least like most recreational things that are commercially successful because people like them. Like, I'm not sure why they're treating these as so separate, if that makes sense. Mylan keeps failing to be distracted. I am so good at getting back on task. Watch me. It may also help us explain why some material that is perceived as being unpleasant and disgusting is appealing to some people, more to some people than it is to others. The study of horror film may also help us understand how emotions are generated and processed, and may help us understand the elements of fear and the attraction of horror. I mean, sometimes a casual audience, there are some confounding variables. Sometimes it's marketing failing or competition being good. True. I mean, sometimes a casual audience loves something, but critics hate it. Also true. I'm gonna be honest, I agree. I would only watch horror movies if people supported them before release. Fair. Insurance is very successful, but very despised. What? Well, yeah, that's why I said, like, recreational, right? Like, there are many things that I spend money on that I hate. Like taxes and stuff, you know? Like, but that's not, like, recreational. That's not for fun. There's commercially successful things that people just seem to just kind of tolerate. Fair. I mostly think of, like, for fun things. Like, I think most things that are for fun, that are sustainably commercially successful, are sustainably emotionally... I forgot words. How do you operationalize goodness as commercial success? I'm not saying that goodness is the same as commercial success. I'm saying people liking somebody makes it more likely to be a commercial success. Which is like, I think what's getting me here is like the framing is like there's the way that this sentence is framing it as if the commercial success causes people to be attracted to it, which I think could be true to an extent. Like, I think like people are interested in things that are successful. But on the other hand, I think that for something to be successful, at least some amount of people have to be attracted to it. Like, I think it's like, you know, a self-reinforcing system, but this seems to be implying that the thing that causes the momentum is the commercial success, which I don't think you can have commercial success without the momentum to start it off, you know? I think the real question is, why do we have morbid curiosity? I know, right, CDM? I actually, earlier this week, I found a researcher who specializes in studying morbid curiosity, and that is so cool, right? Okay, I was moving off of a tangent. Yeah, best part of any paper reading stream. Something can't be successful if literally nobody watches it. Exactly, Torg. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, if nobody watches a movie, it's not commercially successful. Like, I do think it's a dynamical, self-reinforcing system where people being interested in something leads to it being a commercial success, which leads to more interest, which leads to more commercial success, and so on and so forth. But, like, there has to be some interest at the start. And you can, like, encourage that interest, of course, by, like, marketing and stuff like that. But there at least has to be some interest before the success. Counterpoint, The Room. But yeah, The Room, but that did not start making any appreciable amount of money until people were interested in it. And I really want to make it clear, I'm not saying that people being interested in and enjoying something does not mean that it is good from a critical standpoint. There are many, many things that I thoroughly enjoy. There are like a lot of anime that I absolutely adore and enjoy that I would never recommend to anybody, and I may be enjoying them not at all for the reasons the creators intended. The Room is very interesting the same way that an autopsy is. Yeah, but I think those are two different kinds of interests. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I think like there's being interested in something for the reasons that the creators intend you to be interested in, which is usually they intend it to be good, and that's why it inspires interest. And then there's being interested in something for reasons that are unintended by the creators. And I think that's stuff like Rocky Horror, The Room, that kind of thing. Like, yeah. I have a dumb example. If people jumped off, I would not think about doing it. If a ton of people did, I might consider. If they seem eager to do it, I'd be compelled to find out why and try it. Right? Yeah, Michael, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. All right, okay. It may also help us to explain why some material that is perceived as being unpleasant and disgusting is appealing to some people more than it is to others. I think this is the really interesting part to me personally. Like, why do some people love horror and other people are horribly repulsed by it? Like, why? What is it about some people that makes them like horror and other like this thing that repulses a lot of other people? And again, I think the only reason people are interested in the boo-boos is that commercial success has turned it into a demon from Chainsaw Man. I mean, but there had to be some interest in it before the commercial success, right? Like, you know, like some people had to be interested in it. I would eat the Labubu demon just... Klee, are you Chainsaw Man? Are you Chainsaw Man? Because I think that's the only way that works. I think it's only Chainsaw Man that can eat devils to make them no longer exist. I think any other demon... That's... I'm gonna shut up now before I accidentally spoil something. Sorry, Klee. That's on me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I messed up. Sorry, anime onlys. Oops. There are ways to produce the appearance of commercial success without anyone actually wanting to buy the thing. Don't know if yeah. That's true. You can make something look commercially successful, without it actually being commercially successful. You could absolutely do that. But yeah, with Labubu's, it seemed, at least for a while there, to be genuine commercial success. All right. The study of horror film may also help us understand how emotions are generated and processed, and may help us understand the elements of fear and the attraction of fear. The current paper sets out to review the literature regarding the appeal of horror and why and how horror cinema exists or exerts the effects it does. Specifically, it will consider whether there are personality types or other individual differences associated with preference for or enjoyment of horror films, whether sex differences exist in the preference for and enjoyment of horror films, and how horror film develops, and how coping strategies are recruited to manage the fear elicited by horror. The psychological... I do think it's interesting that, like, people will intentionally expose themselves to things that they know that they will have to cope with later. I guess that's like the whole sensation-seeking stuff that they were mentioning in the abstract. The psychological and emotional consequences of watching horror, and whether watching horror is associated with any adverse short-term or long-term psychological consequences. But is it associated with any positive consequences too? I think I'm also interested in that. Does horror have to be scary? Does thriller need to be a separate genre? There are things in horror that do not spook you, but you're enjoying them as horror. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really know what defines genres. I feel like genres, they kind of remind me of like diagnoses for like mental illness. It's like they are clusters of features, and not everything in that category will have that same marketing, and also just humans like putting things in categories. We like putting things in categories. It makes things easier to sort, makes information easier to process. It helps us manage our expectations. Like if I know I'm going into a horror film, I can at least somewhat predict what type of emotions that I'm going to experience while watching that film and stuff like that, right? Like it's like training your nervous system, maybe CDM. Yeah, I wonder if horror films would be good for exposure therapy. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bundling of different elements, kind of like a template. Yeah, a schema. Schema is like what we would call that in psychology. I have a love-hate relationship with genre. Yeah, genre is yeah. I mean, I think genre isn't a real thing. It's just a convenient method of organizing information, right? That's kind of how I see it. The behavioral response is reliably elicited by exposure to horror film and the use of auditory stimulation to manipulate our response to horror. A number of texts exist that have discussed and addressed various aspects of horror and horror film, including the cinematic portrayal of the mad scientist, the aesthetics of horror films, philosophy of horror, process of horror fiction writing. Oh my god, it just keeps going. On one hand, it exists because there are elements that generally go well together. On the other hand, points to road-like discussion. I like how they're citing, this is probably Stephen King's On Writing book, right? As a chronically anxious person, I'm probably more into horror than I should be. Same, CDM, same. Hey, Water Knight, how you doing? How you doing, Water Knight? Happy to have you here. Happy Halloween, Water Knight. Let's see. Okay, they're just... To the author's knowledge, this is the first attempt to assimilate the psychology and related literature in a comprehensive review of our understanding of our enjoyment of horror film, the motivation to watch horror film, and the effects of watching horror film. I guess, like, maybe one of the reasons that this is, like, looking so dense is because they are trying to accomplish a lot here. Like, these are 3 separate topics. Why people enjoy horror films is separate from why people are motivated to watch horror films, is separate from, especially, the effects of watching horror film. I mean, obviously they're, like, all connected, and probably all correlate with each other, but I would generally expect to see different review papers for these 3. There's several times when I put an SCP video and I'm like, oh no, am I going to be afraid there are cannibal deer in my... Man, this actually reminds me of, like, Stephen King's It, where, like, it mostly preys on children because children's fears are more concrete. Like, cannibal deer might be scarier to children, whereas for adults, adult fears tend to be more nebulous, like losing your job or whatever, or like financial whatever. I don't know. The SCPs that scare me most tend to be the more psychological SCPs, or like the more abstract SCPs, as opposed to the ones that are just like, here's an evil deer or whatever, you know? But I'm not sure if that's like, that was an observation by Stephen King. I'm not sure if that matches the evidence. Imagine losing your job because they hired a deer. Why are adult fears more abstract? That's a great question, Charis. I'm not sure. And I'm not even sure if that's an actual effect. Like, I don't know if that's been studied. Like, that's something Stephen King brought up, but I don't think he probably based that on any data. Adult fears include, say, a predator luring their children into a sewer. Also true. That is an adult fear. I do think it's because when you're a child, the world feels a lot simpler. When you're an adult, there's a lot more complex potential things that can have major negative impacts on your life. Mylan, do you have a phobia? That's it. Oh my gosh, Eggy. So when I talk about phobias, I'm going to talk about them in the clinical sense, as in having like an extreme negative influence on your day-to-day life and your ability to function. I do not currently have a phobia. However, in the past, I did have a phobia. I did have a clinical level phobia in the past. I've gotten over it, thank God. But it was very detrimental to my day-to-day life. I almost kind of want to know if you can guess what that phobia was. I don't think you'll be able to guess, but... Yeah, CDM, agree. I need to go back to reading SCPs. I haven't read any SCPs in a while, and I need to do that. I really enjoy them. A phobia of clowns? I've never had a phobia of clowns. My little sister had a phobia of clowns for a while there because when she was way too young, she accidentally ended up watching the It miniseries on TV. And she got scared of clowns. SCP-9000 contest just wrapped up. No, man, that is so wild to me. Okay. Oh no, Cleaver. Oh man. I think I've mentioned it before, but I wrote an SCP. I've written a couple of SCPs, but I think at least one of them is still up there. So one of the SCPs is mine, but back when I was writing SCPs, they were only around, they were 1,000 to 2,000. Like, that's the range SCPs were in back when I was writing them. I would love to write an SCP as Mylan. I think that sounds fun. Anyway, yeah, Eggy, I have had my phobia before. I have had a phobia. You know, I'm not going to share what the phobia was. Because I feel like that would open me up to more bullying. If people knew what my phobia was. Not that I think people could use it against me very effectively, because I'm over it, but like, it was a stupid, I mean, I guess that's the point of phobias. They're irrational fears, right? But it was a very stupid thing to have a phobia about. I promise not to bully about serious things. Why would we bully you over an actual phobia? Because it's stupid. Definitely snails. All right, you know, I'll tell you. If it's a legit phobia, then I hope people... It's not materialistic, no. My phobia... God. My phobia was men. I was afraid of men. Legit, like, if I was, like, in college, I was afraid of men, and, like, there was a case where I was taking an exam, and there was a guy sitting next to me, and he was leaning in too close to me, and I started hyperventilating and having an anxiety attack, and I couldn't breathe because it was a man. Oh, yeah. Oh, I mentioned the stalking thing? Yeah, unfortunately, I have been stalked in the past. Yeah, and I think that's what caused it. It was a big issue. It was deeply inconvenient. Oh my god, I really thought it'd be clowns for the effect from the affected intake. Yes, I have a phobia of clowns and I went to clown school. Oh, I'm sorry, Sita. It's rough, isn't it? Like, I'm glad that it's better. Like, for both of us, I'm glad it's better, because that is a horrible phobia to have. I don't know if anyone has told you this, but men are everywhere. They're everywhere you go. From what you mentioned before with trauma-induced, it's understood. Yeah. It was rough. It was rough, but, therapy helped. Therapy was very helpful, thank God. Can you imagine? Also, moo, I'm a man, right? I'm glad it's not a problem anymore. Me too. Me too. There might be a man in the room with me. There's a man in the room with me. It's my cat. It's Soma. Wait, it's perfectly justified. Oh, thank you, CDM. Yeah, and I'm sorry you went through that too. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was really unfortunate. I think another thing that helped though was in grad school, like when I was getting my PhD, a lot of my closest friends were men when I was getting my PhD, and that helped a lot. That really, really helped a lot. And now I'm just completely over it, which is thank God. It made things so much harder to function. It was so difficult. I hated it. It was horrible. I hated every second. But it's over now. It's over now. That's the nice thing about these things. Like, you can get over them. There is a future, you know? there is an other side, right? Which is great. There is hope. Adverse experiences, yada yada, signaling how cool and understanding. Cleaver. Grad school is exposure therapy for me. I mean, that's what it was for me, Torg. I'm a man most of the time, I guess. My partner's a man sometimes. Oh, I came back to men appreciation. Oh man. Oh, but we need fewer women in grad school so it continues to Torg now. It's funny, like, of course, most psychology PhD programs are primarily women, but it just so happened that, like, the people that my particular area of psychology had, like, the highest concentration of men in the PhD program, so I just ended up spending a lot of time around them. One day I'll point to the stream and say, this is what it feels like inside my brain. Oh no, I'm so sorry. We are not going to finish this paper, are we? I'm so sorry to the author. Ever since the last paper reading stream, I get a little paranoid, because did I tell y'all that, like, after the last paper reading stream that I did, like 2 days after, one of the authors of the paper emailed me and said that they watched the stream. I really need to spec into gender fluidity, be a woman when I crave people taking my emotions seriously, switch to man when I want to take me seriously, then switch to non-binary when I want to be. This is why I'm non-binary all the time, right? It's so much simpler to just stay non-binary, and it's just like, what am I? 22? Why did my words per minute go up? That makes no sense. Paper is a lost cause, but they shouldn't have spent 1,000 words listing horror movies. Yes, this is clearly their fault. It's not me, it's them. Myelin was perceived. Skimming, right? Skimming. Yeah, I was perceived, and it was terrifying. They were super nice, though. Like, they answered a lot of the questions I had mentioned having on stream, and it was super nice of them. Yeah. I asked them if they'd ever want to come on the stream and talk about their research time, and they never emailed me back. Have you considered being a big lumberjack with a luscious mustache and dad energy? Maybe. What paper was that? That was the Twitch Pokemon trading card game streams one. That one. Drug use and Pokemon TCG streams on Twitch. That paper. Most of the time I don't even know what I am. That's fair, CDM. Who knows? Who knows? I just said non-binary and stopped thinking so hard about it. All right. Okay. All right. So, the review was based on keyword searches. Yeah. Pokemon TCG streamers and drug use. Yep, that's what the paper was about. The VOD is up if you want to go check out the VOD. Pretty sure I'm a woman, but I've been wrong before. Gender. Petition to change non-binary to L. Help! Help! Oh no! Help! Okay. So these are their inclusion criteria. They did keyword searches. Why only like a 1 year period? Oh no, this is when they were doing the searches, not like just when the papers were run. This is when they were doing the searches. Combinations of the words and terms: horror, terror, film, movies, cinema, fear, thriller, slasher, fright, gore, anxiety, the unknown, the uncanny, gothic, blood, guts, scream, screaming, shudder, shivering, trauma, and disgust, disgusting. I love this. I wonder how they came up with the words, but it's fun. Material was also sourced from the reference sections of papers obtained and of books where the topic was horror. The review begins with a definition of horror. Okay. Here's where they're defining horror. Oh, look, my favorite AO3 tag. Why do the unknown and the uncanny get these? That's a great question. I don't know. I really do wonder how they came up with these words and terms. But I think maybe they got these because if you just search unknown, then I imagine you'd get just a bunch of unrelated papers. Because like people are saying like the effects of this or the implications of this are unknown in just papers of all types. So maybe adding the in front of unknown narrows it down a bit. It's possible that the uncanny, adding the to the uncanny also has the same narrowing down effect. I think that seems like the most likely explanation to me. I don't know. Maybe we can hunt down the author and get the author on here. I really want to invite some psychologists on sometimes. I just need to get over my social anxiety and get some psychologists to come on the channel sometime. That isn't Psy. I love having Psy on the channel. I do. I adore having Psy on the channel. But, like, she's been on the channel. I want to get other people on here, too. Oops. Where were we? Where am I? The definition of horror. Okay. Oh my gosh, their definition sections are huge. Wait, where are we? Where are we? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, there's so much in here. All right, what is horror? Psy delegated to backup psychologist. Psy is always my number one psychologist. Psy is my number one psychologist. In my heart, in my head. She's my precious daughter, and I adore her. But I can't play favorites too much, right? I can't play favorites too much. And also, I want to get, like, people from a variety of backgrounds and expertises on here to talk to. I just need to get around to doing that. I need to get over my social anxiety. That's the issue. All right, what is horror? The word horror derives from Greek. In my heart, in my head, in my health insurance, because it doesn't cover an actual therapist. My health insurance does cover therapy, thank God. Thank God. I can relate to that issue. I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm not gonna try and meaning shudder is describes physical manifestations of shivering, shuddering, and piloerection. Sorry, no, you're fine, Michael. In the fourth Stasimon of Sophocles' Oedipus Tyrannus, the chorus says, after the protagonist binds himself, "Alas, poor man, I can't ever look at you. Such is the shiver you cause in me." An exact and precise modern definition of horror, however, is difficult to determine. Horror has been defined as a spontaneous response to shocking visual stimulus, and has a compound of terror and revulsion. Yeah, I don't think it's purely visual, right? Like, horror, sound is a big part of horror. If any other psychologist stream, you can set us on rid me of this meddlesome priest. No, there's a lot of other psychologists that stream, and they're all lovely. If you're afraid of the unknown, you're a horror fan. If you're afraid of the unknowns, you're a statistician. Or of unknowns, you're a statistician. I love that cleaver. In Cohen's interpretation, imagined horror provides entry to the made-up world where fears are heightened but can be mastered. I don't know about the can be mastered bit. It accesses a core of fears that we may share as humans, such as fear of being attacked in the dark, and provides a way to conceptualize, give shape to, and deal with the evil and frightening. I'm not, like I was saying earlier, I feel like some of the most effective horror movies specifically don't give you a way to deal with it. Like, they give you potential ways to deal with it, but those ways don't work out for one way or another. Like, I'm thinking, like, I've never actually seen any of the Final Destination movies, but I've watched plenty of, like, Final Destination explained stuff. And, I think part of the point of those is, like, there is no way out of it. You can't get out of it. You can't deal with it. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. Horror, Stone argues, confronts us with the disgusting and fascinating simplicity, or simultaneously, two aspects of horror returned to later. I think this is why I like horror. The fascinating bit is specifically it. Unless there is after they hit movie 3. I think it's pretty well established that, like, the most you can do in Final Destination is delay it. You can't actually escape it, I think. At least, that's my impression of what Final Destination Bloodlines has done. Not mastered, but can be exploited. People can turn things like anxiety as a motivational impulse. True, true. Two aspects of horror according to Mary... I don't like how many quotes they're putting in here. Explain it in your own words. What does this mean? Why... I don't think these quotes are really adding anything. Put it in your own words. Just say it. Say what you're trying... Make the point. I'm a big proponent of not using quotes unless the exact wording that somebody used matters. Turning bad things into useful things. I think there's someone who didn't die because death skipped them, or the other person died first and that worked for some reason. I don't know. It's from the plot summary I watched. I think, like, all of the people that survived in the earlier movies end up getting killed off in later movies. Paper has become a compilation, huh? It kind of feels that way. Hey, look, guys, how you doing? How you doing? Today we're reading a paper, a review paper on why people like horror. One view of horror, and this is the section that's supposed to be defining horror, but this is way too much. This feels like, you know, when you ask ChatGPT to do something for you, and it just spits out way more text than is actually needed to do the thing. Like, that's one of my main problems with ChatGPT, like, students using it, is, like, they'll send me an email that's clearly ChatGPT. The email is, like, 500 words. It's a billion paragraphs. And it's just to, like, ask for an extension on a homework. And that could have been done in, like, a single sentence. And, like, the email never even explicitly asks for the extension. So it just spits out, like, a whole bunch of words without actually getting to the point. This feels like padding out an essay for class, right? Like, when Astral said this is 17,000 words, why? I'm surprised. Like, a lot of journals have a word count cap that you can be at. Usually, like, 10,000 words max. ChatGPT for an email? Oh, yeah, Eggy. Yep. I've gotten multiple ChatGPT emails in my time. It's not written by AI because it's a collage of quotes, right? Well, we don't know. Are those quotes real? Who knows? When was this published? Actually, 2019. So probably not AI, but still, you know, like, it's... I feel like this is way more padded than it needs to be. There are wise ways to use ChatGPT, and that is not one of them. Nothing pisses me off more than... Well, there are things that piss me off more, but ChatGPT emails are just so frustrating to me. It's like, just tell me what you want. It's okay, I've seen people ask ChatGPT for love advice. Ugh. I've used ChatGPT for mails as well, mostly for requesting internship mails. Is anything real anymore? Who knows? Oh my gosh. Okay, one view of horror considers it to be of two types. Horror, which is genuine and designed to make us afraid because it's advantageous for our survival. So, like, horror is like an adaptational thing. We experience fear because it allows us to escape predators. And art horror, which describes imagined horror found in horror films. Carol also argued, Mylan will be real mad when they find out I use ChatGPT bot to fill it in on their streams when I'm asleep. I'm gonna bite you. I'm gonna start biting. And now, I actually have the teeth to do it. I shall bite. I'm going to bite. The hood is gonna stay on until I feel like I don't need to bite anyone anymore. Carol also argues that... Okay, Carol argues this, but what do you are? Biting is a much more serious threat now. It's true. That scared me. Happy Halloween! Happy Halloween, guys. And for their special neutral, violent bites are random. It's true. Safety biting. Yeah, I did make a conscious decision when I was coloring this in to make those teeth, to color the teeth in as if they are very solid, as opposed to just like, you know, felt or something. Your hoodie needs braces. No, it doesn't. It's perfectly fine as it is. Though that would be a fun, like, April Fool's edition. I've read a bit of Carol, and maybe I'm just uncharitable, but his views don't seem particularly insightful to me. I'm kind of annoyed at, like, the amount of text in this, Cheris, so hearing that delights me. These teeth don't look OSHA compliant. They're not. That's the point. In Carol's definition is the presence of a monster, or monster which defines the essence of a horror film. I disagree. OMG, love them out. Thank you, Xenotime, and welcome to the stream. I just want to know how they define horror for this paper, not an overview of the whole Right, Torg? Right? I mean, I guess it is a review paper, but, like, still. Just dropping by to say hi. Fair enough, fair enough. You're a busy person. Yeah, thank you for dropping in, though. Much appreciated, much appreciated. Happy to have you. Oh my god. I'll stand by the belief that the hood's main use is to prevent eye contact. You might be onto something, Alex. Oh, you might be onto something. Okay, I'm taking off the hood. This author learned to write from YouTube video. Oh no. Through eerie scary, they achieve their hair-rising effect by explaining extreme You're lucky they're not trying to define a movie, right? Socially anxious minds think a lot, right? Oh my god. This definition, of course, would exclude a significant number of obviously horrific horror films. Right, exactly, exactly. That's what I was thinking. This view has also been challenged. Slasher movies, for example, are clearly horror films that do not necessarily contain monsters described by Carol, or although some, such as Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers, possess supernatural elements, and Freddy Krueger is... What is this word? I've never seen this word before. Don't be sad, Michael. That means you're safe. Oh, that's a cool word. That would be a cool name for a VTuber. We only need 25 more subscribers. You better get the Discord ready. Nah. Just don't look at the eye. So why have a paragraph on Carol if we're rejecting the definition provided? I think part of it is because this is a literature review, but what bothers me is that, yes, it's a literature review, so its goal is to describe the literature. However, it is not a literature review on what horror is. It's a literature review on why people like horror. So why are we dedicating so much space to what horror is? That's not the point of the review. Just give me the definition that you're using for the review. That's all I need. If this was a review on what horror is, I think that this much focus would make sense in talking about Carol's definition. Oh. Oh. We're back! Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Spooky. But we're back. We're back. I live. I returneth. Moo lag. Yep. But we're back. We're back. We're back. Yay! The horror, the spinning horror flag. No, there was, for some reason, a disconnect. I don't know why. If this researcher is hired a DDoS team, I hope not. Please have mercy on me. It's not personal. It's not personal. I'm not upset with you, sir. I'm not sure why this is so long, but, like, it could be that you have a justification, and, like, maybe I don't know. Like, I'm just stating personal preferences. This is not a judgment about the paper or the writing or the person. Every next researcher Mylan challenges will go up by difficulty like a video game boss. In 5 paper streams from now, the researcher shows up at my home during the stream and fights me in a cage match. Personal. I'm making judgments of the writer. Please don't make judgments of the writer as a person. Please don't do that. You know, I wonder if this was like a thesis. Because, like, if this was a thesis, theses often end up being really padded out and stuff. 9.3 millimeters since midday. Yes, I measured it. Millimeters of what? Millimeters of what? Oh. Of rain? I hope that's right. Fight you in a cage match. Just don't review any evolutionary psychology. Maybe you can survive. I can beat him, evolutionary psychologist, in a cage match. I can do it. Not all of them, but some of them, probably. I've got my game face on. I've got my game face on. I can do it. I believe in me. I'm gonna keep that part of the game face on. That's why I thought I disconnected. Oh, yeah, no. Nah, you're good. It was on my end. Boop. Okay. Okay, yeah, sci-fi author shows up at 3 a.m. and starts quoting snippets from all the books you've never read. That is the real horror. Me losing sleep is the real terror. I would cry. Horror invariably includes an element of evil channeled via a human, a creature, or a supernatural force which has the power to change events, causing disruption, instability. 10 papers from now, Mylan is 1v1ing all of psychology. That would mean I was 1v1ing myself. That doesn't sound like a good thing to do. Evolutionary psychologists may not have the best methodology, but they do have the best wrestling one-liners. I bet. Oh my god, they're citing Freud. Why? Okay, let's keep going. If this force is not human or supernatural, it is natural. This is rapidly becoming personal. I want to... I agree that it's becoming personal, but I want to say personal is not science, right? We need to clarify. Something... My personal opinion is not science. My personal opinion is not science. So, like, this is not, like, a valid critique. Like, any critiques I have based on my personal opinion are not valid. Like, no, I'm just getting, like, petty, but pettiness is not valid critique. No, I mean, is the judgments on the author's... I'm not judging the author's character. I think the author is probably fine. I just think that this is more long-winded than it needs to be. But on the other hand, my advisor has told me that I tend to be too short-winded. I don't include as much detail as I should. So I think my perception might be skewed. You know, like, I think I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum, so I might not be the best person to judge this, but I do feel like this is way more information here than we actually need to get the point. Like, we don't need an in-depth discussion of the definition of horror in a paper where that is not the point. I feel your frustration with this article is turning almost... I'm honestly not that frustrated with the article. It's more like... I'm just like, I'm realizing how long this is gonna take me. And I'm tempted to, like, skip chunks of it. The name... I don't agree! I don't agree that horror invariably is good versus evil. I don't agree that that's... Like, is that an element of horror films? Yes, especially ones with religious elements. But, like, I think there are absolutely horror films that are not just good versus evil. Like, I'm thinking, like, Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is not necessarily good versus evil. There are protagonists, and there are antagonists, but the antagonists are doing something for the greater good, and the protagonists are doing something for their own good. It's more like a conflict of values than it is good versus evil, right? There's no objective good and there's no objective evil in that story. And yeah, Lovecraft's creatures were just being themselves, right? They weren't doing it, they weren't being intentionally evil or intentionally good. They were just incomprehensible to humanity, right? And I think a lot of, like, I would argue that, like, some of the monsters in Stephen King's stuff, like, some of them absolutely are evil, but others are just, like, they're just doing their thing. You know? They're just doing their thing. that's just like for it, that's just how it hunts and eats, right? It's not a good or an evil thing to do. I guess humanity might consider it evil, but for it's not doing that out of malice necessarily. That's just, it needs fear to feed. Having a presence of a hostile force. Yeah, yeah. Even if it's hostile despite its indifference. Right. Like, I agree, Kleeper. I think that's a better way of putting it. There's a driving motivation to overcome a pure and unmotivated desire to inflict suffering. Okay, I would argue that it, at least, does have a motivated, a desire to inflict suffering, but I would say it's a motivated desire, because that's how it feeds, right? But horror film, despite the features that the genre shares, is not a unitary cinematic phenomenon. Distinct subgenres and branches exist, which are characterized by similar features or styles of film. Often these but then if hostile force, why psychological horror? Also true. Technical filmmaking. Horror film is the only fictional genre which is specifically created to elicit fear consistently and deliberately rather than... Wait, Silence of the Lambs isn't horror because the villain has a motive, right? Tori, that's a good question. Sometimes the hostile force is yourself. Also true. Also true. And sometimes the hostile force is just, like, nature. Like, if you think of, like, horror films that are, like, pandemics or something, like, based on a pandemic or a natural disaster or something. Can those be horror? Absolutely. Is there any intent there? Is there any hostility there? No, it's just something doing what it's doing. Yeah, Bird Box. I haven't actually seen Bird Box, but my understanding of it would be something along those lines, right? The villain, the Earth, right? Basically, behaviorally, horror film can create shivering, closing of eyes, startle, shielding of eyes, trembling, paralysis, piloerection, withdrawal, heaving, and screaming. It can produce change mentally. It can create anxiety, fear, empathy, and thoughts of disgust. One of the earliest empirical studies to examine the effect of watching horror suspenseful cinema on behavior asked participants to watch 3 programs which varied in suspense, high, low. Wait, we're no longer in defining horror. They're reviewing the literature now. What is happening? I mean, this is good. Like, this is what the paper's supposed to be about, but why is it in this section? I'm just confused. Also, well, I haven't forgotten. Sorry for making a mean comment about size 2D Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. You are totally fine, Cleaver. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I put, like, over 100 hours, probably, into size 2.0 model, and I only put 6 hours into the Adventure Time model, but aesthetically I honestly prefer the Adventure Time model, so, like, no judgment. It's okay if you prefer the Adventure Time model. I think I also prefer the Adventure Time model. I'm prouder of the 2.0 model. I'm really proud of what I did on the 2.0 model, and I think it's a great show of all I can do, but, like, art and aesthetic wise, I like the Adventure Time model more. I missed a model debut again. It's okay, Waternight, don't worry. This was a while ago. I think, well, I mean, my model debut was today, but... So we're technically still in the model debut for this model, but size 2.0 model debut was a while ago. Was it in July? Or was it August? Might have been August. Or even September? I don't know. Oh, anyway. Experiencing sleep disturbance, counting models till Mylan caves and becomes a full-time rigger. I have considered that multiple times. I don't think, though, that I would be in demand enough to be a full-time rigger. I don't think that I would be in that much demand. The twist for this debut is the paper ending with a bit about why people love Sim Island's model. I don't know if people love this new model. I like it, though. I like it. I'm already seeing some things that I might want to tweak about it. Like, I think the mouth placement is just a little too low on the face, and that's kind of bothering me, but meh. Sai's debut was on the 23rd of August. Hey! There we go. It's like Uma Musume, but you have a stable of VTubers instead. I would love that. My family tree must continue to grow. I liked it a lot as well. Oh, I'm glad. Alright, oh boy. Sorry. The four most frequently cited causes of frightening experiences were the films, Poltergeist. Oh my god, I saw Poltergeist when I was a kid, and I was way too young to be watching that, and that I was scared to sleep on my own for 2 full weeks after Poltergeist, and then my parents banned me from watching horror movies because of it for a while. I'll always love things like ponchos and coats, so I'm biased in favor. I know, right? I love them too. I want one in real life. I don't actually have a poncho in real life, and I want one. There were some film-specific anxieties responses, with fear swimming in lakes and oceans, uneasiness around clowns and televisions, and avoidance of camping in woods. Fair. Imagine a VTuber. They're themed around making VTuber models for others, and we have an SCP website with the docs of each of them. That would be fun! Maybe I should do that. Behavioral changes have been examined experimentally. For example, ask 50 participants to watch neutral, pleasant, or unpleasant film clips while standing on a stabilometric platform? Oh, good, they're telling us what it is. This device measures a person's motoric behavior as participants engage in some exercise or task. They found that when participants watched unpleasant films, what quantifies unpleasant, though? Like, is this horror specifically, or just unpleasant things? Like, gross out stuff, or, like, tragedy, or what? Participants would freeze, show reduced body sway, and heart rate deceleration. That's really interesting. So their heart rate went down. The reduced body sway was found early on in the viewing of the unpleasant material, suggesting that behavioral effects of watching horror are immediate. But is this horror, though? That's what I want to know. Is this horror? Or is this just unpleasant in general? The study is one of few methodologically well-controlled studies of behavioral response to films designed to elicit strong emotions, and demonstrated empirically how exposure to certain types of film affects physical behavior, and in this specific example, how certain types of films inhibit motor behavior. That's interesting to me, because, like, as a very anxious person, I tend to, like, bounce my knee a lot when I'm anxious, right? So I was kind of expecting that movement would go up, right? But, I mean, I guess the whole, like, responses to fear are, what? Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And maybe this is sort of like a freeze thing. 26.3. Our words per minute's going up. People's enjoyment of horror can be affected by priming. Okay, so priming. If you aren't familiar with priming is sort of like presenting an idea or a thing to people to like, or like reminding them of its existence. It's making it salient, which is to say it's drawing something to the front of your mind. It's making it easy for you to think of, cognitively accessible. That's what priming is. So like if I mention like Dr. Pepper, I've potentially primed Dr. Pepper. Or if I show you a soda, I might be priming soda. Oh, I've assumed the methodology of what they're citing. Oh, Cleeper, thank you. That's very kind. Thank you. Was it horror movies, or was it just like unpleasant films in general? I'm inclined to believe unpleasant, because I feel like they wouldn't have used that word if it was horror specifically. Did they check whether people in the study were neurotypical? Moving when anxious seems like the kind of thing where that's very relevant. True, Torg. We would have to read the study to figure out if they did. So I don't know. But that is an important point. Let's see. People's enjoyment of horror can be affected by priming. Found that providing adults with information about types of events they were about to see in four horror films increased the degree of fright. So knowing what was coming made people more afraid and upset. That's interesting. The neutral film was a Crossroad video. A pleasant one was Disney Movie Expert, and the unpleasant one was a fatal car accident aftermath. Was it like blood on the asphalt or whatever it is, the one that they show you during driving class? Where it's like actual brains on the asphalt from a real car accident? I had to watch that when I was taking driver's ed. It has nothing to do with horror movies. Every clip is 1 minute. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. And they say well controlled, but that doesn't sound well controlled to me. Like, those are three vastly different things, right? Like, those don't sound... it's not just the pleasantness of the thing that's being manipulated. Like if it was a Disney film, that's potentially animated, where the others are potentially live action. Some of them involve acting, others of them don't involve acting. Like that doesn't sound well controlled to me. I mean, it's got environmental validity if they're using real films and stuff, not artificially created ones for the lab, but like it doesn't, I wouldn't call that a well-controlled study. I'm not saying it's a bad study. I think there are plenty of studies that are not well-controlled that are great studies, and that could very well be one of them, but I wouldn't call it well-controlled. Well-controlled study probably referred to the measurements, but I would say the material they used was disqualified. Yeah, I think they're probably referring to the measurements specifically when they say well-controlled, but I agree that I think their dependent variable measurement is well controlled. Their manipulation of the independent variable is not necessarily well controlled. Hey Marlon, how you doing? Oh, thank you, thank you. I like my let me put my hood up. Haha, I can do this, isn't it nice? Isn't horror subjective anyway? Yeah, I think horror's kind of subjective. Depends. Real life gore is not scary, it's disgusting. I think that depends on who you ask. Like, a study sounds good from what little I saw, but not at all relevant to the topic of this paper. I could see it being relevant in that unpleasant. Horror probably falls under unpleasant, but, you know. It's cedium. Oh, yeah. Marley, check out my tail. He's so pointy. I'm sorry, I like my tail. It's sad that it's almost never going to show up on screen. Maybe I should make a toggle that makes it, like, go up behind me. Thank you! It's so good to see you. It's been a while. Not that anyone ever has any obligation to come to my streams, and also I've been on hiatus. Okay. The difference between watching a car crash aftermath and a movie, you know a movie didn't happen. That's also true. Yeah. Tokyo Ghoul Tales. Oh yeah, this is my Kagune. Mylon has made a situation where to show off part of their model, they have to show off their... Here. You can sort of see my tails without seeing my shoes. It's fine. And I don't actually have any that's my secret. I don't actually have any feet under these shoes. Do I have legs under the pants? Yes. Do I have arms under my sleeves? Yes. Do I have a torso under my poncho? Yes. Is that more a shark or a reptile tail? Or it's an interpretation of a whale tail. Am I looking at the tail? Can I share the short this makes me think of? Sure. It's the cryptid that this is based on it's based on a slide rock bolter. I guess the tail isn't forked at the end. It's forked, but not at the end. It forks, like, around, like, where it comes out of my back, roughly. Mileage showing off the whale tail, yeah. Technically, slide rock bolters are based on whales. They're like land whales-ish. Yeah. Slide rock bolters are great, by the way. Do I still have the image so I can show my lovely image of my slide rock bolter? I do not. Pictures of it look a little more like a giant catfish. Yeah, it depends on the artistic representation you're looking at. Some people draw it like a catfish, some people draw it like an alligator, some people draw it more like a whale. Like, it all really depends on what you're looking at. Seeing lots of gills, yeah. Very Pokemon coded, but they're never going to make a Colorado region. They should. I would love them to make a Colorado region. They absolutely should make a Colorado region. Do it. Maybe I should do a Twitch stream, like, drawing Pokemon versions of cryptids. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. Just, like, one day I'll do a Twitch stream, or, like, a stream on here where I make, Fate servant versions of famous psychologists from history. Okay. Back to the point. So they warned people what they were going to see, and that made them more afraid, which is interesting. Just like someday I will list everything in the mood. They already made a New York region and a Hawaii region, right? Yeah, that's true. Extended this by Presenting 121 attendees of 2 horror films, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Night of the Living Dead, at a U.S. cinema with 3 levels of warning. Low warning, basic information like the name, the release date, and the rating. The moderate warning involved all of the low information plus a descriptor of the film's content. The high warning included both these plus a statement about graphic scene in the film. A paraplegic beats. Oh my god. Oh. Sorry, I got distracted. If individuals reported being previously afraid of the specific types of content mentioned by the experimenters, these cues significantly predicted overall fear when prior experience of the film and anxiety was controlled for. Fear measured via questionnaire rather than behaviorally. There's no significant correlation between trait known as sensation seeking and liking or enjoyment of either film. Interesting. Anyway, the video I thought was a Dimension 20 short of Hank Green talking about how the average... Mr. Kitty? Mr. Kitty? I need you to go and take Cleeper out of the chat, Mr. Kitty. Soma, go chase. Soma, go chase. Attack, Mr. Kitty. He's coming at you. He's coming for you. I can't pet the kitty. Kitty is on his way to attack Cleeper. So he's too far away for me to pet right now, unfortunately. But I'll pet him when he comes back, and I'll give him some treats. I have a laser pointer on my table. Oh no. Oh no, Mr. Kitty. That might work. Intercontinental Ballista. He will attack with all of his might. He is very fluffy and very pointy. I don't think anyone outside the States knows anything about Colorado. Some might. Colorado gets a decent amount of tourism for skiing, specifically. It's like one of the major ski destinations in the US. Intercontinental. I'm back. Welcome back. We got distracted again. Okay, there's a correlation between prior experience and enjoyment for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, suggesting that viewers repeated their viewing because they enjoyed it the first time. Who goes to the US anyway? Good question. I don't know. I don't know who goes to the US, especially these days. Viewers' anxiety level predicted the fright generated by Night of the Living Dead, as did fear. Yes, most of the tourism is probably internal. Probably. American dreamers. The availability of spoilers, the reveal of key scenes and plot points in advance of viewing, appears to have little effect on positive enjoyment of a horror film or experience with suspense. Interesting. Have a great day, Michael. The real horror is seeing egg prices. The real horror is seeing your hospital bill. Anyway. Our behavioral reaction to horror tends to be consistent. I feel like this whole section is called What is Horror? And they haven't actually defined what horror is. Like, they've given some possible definitions and said, but we don't think that definition doesn't work. And then they've just started going over some of the literature for no clear reason. Have a nice day. Thank you. Yeah, I don't really get what they're trying to accomplish in here. The next session considers some of the reasons why people watch horror films and considers some of the dominant theories and models in interdisciplinary research that have proposed to explain our enjoyment of horror film. So we're finally getting to the meat of the paper, the main point of the paper. Maya's been reading it as Papyrus going, "Nya, nya," makes me read my, "Nya." Maya's a cute nickname, though. I like that. And consider some of the most salient ways in which horror film sets out to frighten viewers, including sound. All right, let's talk about sound and horror. Wait, so are we talking about why people watch horror films, or? Okay, whatever. Let's talk about sound and horror. Okay. Here we go. In addition to visual and... What cryptid is this outfit? It is the Slide Rock Bolter. The Slide Rock Bolter. A cryptid that is native to Colorado. That's why we were talking about Colorado. Why do people watch horror section look pretty short? That's funny, because that's kind of the point. It is a creature. That's a slide rock bolter. We do love ourselves slide rock bolters. They are friends. Okay. In addition to visual and verbal impact of horror, perhaps one of the most significant elements of horror film is auditory. To this end, some authors have argued that horror is primarily a sound-based medium. I would disagree. I've seen some pretty spooky horror comics and stuff. And, like, I'm thinking of, like, you know, I mean, I'm not saying sound is not important for horror. Sound is definitely important for horror. Abso-freaking-lutely. But, like, there are many horror things that do not require sound. Like, I'm thinking, like, creepypasta, spooky images, spooky stories to read in the dark. Those images scared me like hell. Horror games that do entirely silent scares. Yeah, I don't think horror requires sound. I think sound can add a lot, but I don't think it requires it. I looked it up, and now my 10 quid anxiety meds would cost, like, $80 in the States. Sounds about right. Where you turn around and see something that should not be there. Right? Man, you know what would be fun? What got me into the SCP Foundation was playing that SAP staircase game way back when. Maybe that'd be fun to play on stream. Okay. Horror requires X is just the author telling you what horror they consume. Horror takes sound to explain creepypasta images, right? Horror is primarily sound-based medium. Yeah, I feel like all of these... This is just like quoting people who say, yeah, SCP-087, exactly. I don't have it installed it anymore because that laptop died a long time ago, but I would love to play SCP-087. Maybe we can do that this weekend, actually. That sounds like fun. Maybe we can do that on Twitch. Or like Security Breach got back into SCP recently from a video on how wacky its health system is. Alright, or literally every wall in Dagoya's house. Oh my gosh, right? Right? That whole story about Dagoya's wall paintings is freaking wild. This is why I don't like these quotes, though. Skips this paper, let's play it now. I'd have to install it and get everything set up. That would be more of a Twitch thing, too. The creaking door, the scream, the shriek of an owl, the hiss of a cat, the squelching of a head as it meets the sledgehammer. I like how they're implying the head goes into the sledgehammer rather than the other way around. I like that wording. It's funny. The ringing of the phone, the bang of a blah, 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 blah. One of the most successful and most common auditory tropes in horror is the use of a loud sound after a prolonged period of this freaking jump scare. I hate them. This quotes are so distracting from the main point. That's been like the theme of this whole paper, is that the quotes are distracting from the main point of the paper in general. They are way over relying on quotes, I feel like. Like, my general philosophy for quotes in academic writing is that you should only ever use a quote when you want to point something out about the exact wording that somebody's using. But this is just like using quotes to avoid putting it in their own words, I think, or like to showcase other people's points of views, but I don't think it's necessary to use the quotes to do that, and it bothers me. Like, I don't think it's wrong, I don't think it's technically wrong to do this, but this style of writing bothers me and kind of annoys me, and I think it's kind of... It feels more like they're taking a whole bunch of detours to shove quotes in, as opposed to just moving in a straight line, and I wonder if that's why this paper ended up being so long and so, like, fluffy. I'm sure there's at least one horror movie where a rapidly moving head impacts a stationary sledgehammer. I'm sure there is. I guess horror in games is the sort of thing on its own where if you're not actually in danger, you have stakes in an embodied form in the game, though it depends on how emotionally invested you get. Yeah, Marlon, for me, like... Horror games really fuck me up, mainly because I have control over the character, and that's scary to me. Is there supposed to be a second black mark in your model's eyes independent of your iris and sclera? Yeah, that's... So my other models have like a highlight in the eyes, a white highlight in the eyes, and for this model, for like the skin and the hair and all the parts of the body of the model, including the tails, I inverted the shading so the dark parts are lighter and the light parts are darker. Like you can see the highlights on this model are darker, so yeah, that's the eye highlight. That's supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. I have to deal with constant jump scares in real life. I don't need them entertainment too. Mood. Like, the only reason you put this quote in a paper is to pad the paper or say something with a fallback of saying, well, I didn't say this, I quoted it. And I'm like, why are you quoting it? Right, Cleaper? It bothers me. Oh, twisted evil and opposite. Right, yeah. That was the point of Those are supposed to be there. Exactly. I had a lot of fun with it. But I'm debating whether I should have done that on, like, the clothing as well. But I don't know. I don't know. Okay. One of the most successful and most common auditory tropes in jump scare. Often the sound is unconnected from what's on screen. I don't know about that, because jump scares can also be visual, right? And the loud noise might accompany a reveal such as a face, right? Turned out good? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm pretty happy with it. I have an oversensitive nervous system and exaggerated reactions to loud sounds that I can't control, like falling to the ground and dropping whatever. Me too. Me too, Cedia. Me freaking too. It sucks. It sucks so bad. Honestly, next Halloween costume should be a cartoony Mothman. That sounds fun. That sounds like fun. This wasn't actually never intended to be a Halloween costume, but I thought it would be a good time to reveal it. Or that bird that probably was the Mothman. I do have a design for a outfit based on that, but like just the bird would be fun as well. My birthday's coming up actually in 2 weeks, so maybe I could do something like that for that. I would like a small cartoony model as well. Fit in more with Sai's Adventure Time and Phi's just general aesthetic. That sounds like fun. What if I made a Chibi Z model? That sounds like... Anyway, I don't know if I'm really thinking about was playing Half-Life Alyx in VR. I don't know if traumatized is the right word, but I got shot at or threatened with blunt weapons. It felt very visceral. Yeah, it really puts you in that scenario, and it feels like your choices and the things that happen to you are more real or solid or concrete, I guess. I think that really adds to the horror. It feels more real and immediate and threatening when you have control over the avatar, especially if you're playing like first person, kind of. We already have Astral Z model. That's true. We do. It's true. You mean the Chibi Z model? We all wish there wasn't. There is a Chibi. I like that one though. Definitely my body anticipated getting hurt, right? Hey, happy upcoming birthday. I really appreciate having people push what age can be considered VTuber age. Make sure to get a lot of sugar-free cake at the... Shut up, Cliff. Even if it wasn't... Right? Right? Yeah. Okay, I'm just... Yeah, I don't think a lot of this is terribly relevant. Like, this isn't addressing what allegedly the paper is about. That's what bothers me. Yeah, I don't think you're old. Thank you, Cleaver. Thank you. I mean, I am old. I'm just not that old, right? Though nursing home life doesn't sound that bad. I'm not nearly old enough for that yet, though. Okay, we get it. This is not the... Like, I think they're very passionate about this topic. They clearly are very passionate about horror movies. I don't think that... Cleaver. Everyone's old just by different amounts. True. Oh, we know how old Cleaver is now. Everybody take notes. I'm kidding. The second most common auditory influence in horror cinema is use. Okay. This is not relevant to the point, though. If you're giving out candies instead of trick-or-treating, you're not young. Yeah, I never claimed to be young. I never claimed to be young. And I am on the older side, especially in this type of community, but everyone older than me is ancient, everyone younger than me is a baby, right? So most of you in chat are babies, by the way, in case you were wondering. Okay. I don't think this section is relevant to the point of the paper. Oh, but this part looks... So, startle reflex. Under laboratory conditions, a startle reflex, SR, is produced by delivering 50 milliseconds of 90 decibel white noise at unpredictable intervals while eye blink is measured. The stimulation is not always auditory, can be visual or tactile. It's weird. 27 feels like the age where my mind went, okay, I'm basically 30 already. It's not that bad. Skeleton or zygote. Aren't you in your mid to late 30s? I mean, definitely not late 30s. I'm absolutely not in my late 30s. I think you could argue that I'm in my mid 30s. I think that's arguable. I'm definitively not in my late 30s. And we established the other day that I'm younger than Taylor Swift. I'm younger than Taylor Swift. I'm not 36, no. All right, where were we? Under lab conditions, a startle. Okay, but what does this have to do? This is frustrating. This is frustrating. I'm getting frustrated with this paper. I feel like it's a lot of information that is not actually relevant to what they say the paper. Like, is it relevant? Yes, but is it relevant enough to be included in a paper on this topic? I would argue no. It just feels really padded out. I'm collecting 35 plus VTubers. Sorry, I have to take you out of my deck. I'm sorry, Cleeper. I'm sorry to have disappointed you. Give me a little bit, okay? Just give me my mom. Cleeper, give me a little over 2 weeks, Cleeper, and you can put me back in your deck. Give me a little over 2 weeks and I can go back in there. Something frontiers moment. Exactly, Marlon, you are so right. More than 0 years, less than 35, true. It's turned tangible. Oh, happy birthday. We're back. We're back. The real horror is network, right? Right. Oh my gosh. Bad internet in 2025? I know. They died of old. Oh, man. This is frustrating. This paper is not what I hoped it would be. What, like, startle reflex, okay, but what about horror movies? Horror movies and... Yeah, I wonder, it feels like there's more network problems lately, and I'm not sure why. Okay, finally, here is the point. This is the point of the paper. That is like literally the title of the paper is Why Do You Like Horror? We have finally got to the section where they're talking about why people like horror. Like, I don't think they could have cut this entire sound and horror section. This definition, this was like needed 1 paragraph max. This whole introduction was horror and introduction, did not need to be nearly this long. How many pages did it? I don't know. Because I'm just reading this online, so I don't know how this would be in pages. But, like, this is way padded out. This is crazy padded. It did not need to be nearly this much information. And some of these sections just don't need to be here at all. And why do people watch horror? Suspense and resolution of suspense are 2 important components of horror and our response to horror films. Suspense refers to the build-up to threat, the tension created. Okay, so is this relevant? The sound and horror section just made me wonder if they know what Stephen King's job is. This just feels to me like somebody who really, really, really loves horror movies and thinks a lot about horror movies and wanted to turn that into a paper that they could put on their CV. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to, like, be motivated by what you love. Like, I'm very motivated by what I love, and I would love to write a paper on things that I'm passionate about. But I think that they're just, like, getting that love and passion, they're letting it get in the way of readability and getting to the point and making a point. And I don't want to condemn that. Like, I think it's very good to be passionate and to look at and write about things that you're passionate about. But one, to put it in a CV instead of writing an actual good paper, I don't know. If you mention startle reflex without mentioning hyperplexia, you could just go home instead. Did they mention that? They might have. I just kind of skimmed this because I was like, this doesn't feel like it's relevant to the point. Like, I mean, could it be relevant if you generalize enough? Yes, but, like, the main point of the paper, it doesn't feel relevant about that, unless you establish that people might desire to experience startle reflexes, in which case that's relevant. But they're not really describing people seeking out startle reflexes, they're just talking about startle reflexes are a thing, and that's... Okay, but blood et al. Citations... Wait, blood et al. Would include it even if it had nothing to do? Wait. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. What's the blood et al? Discordant music has been associated with activity in different brain regions to those found when listening to harmonic or pleasant music. These include the right parahippocampal gyrus and precuneus and bilateral orbitofrontal cortex, and may suggest that these regions are involved in mediating our auditory response to some aspects of horror film. Cool! I love that. And I think they could have included this in a way that makes it more obvious, like, why that's related to motivation to watch horror film. But, like, I feel like this paper is kind of all over the place. And, like, I feel like, honestly, this paper should have been a book. This paper should have been a book. I think that would have been better. I think this author should write a book about just the psychology of horror, the psychology of fear, maybe, and horror, generally speaking. Write a book. They should write a book. And I would buy that book, and I would read that book. Right? I think that's what should have happened here. Rather than writing a Frontiers paper, they should have written a book about the psychology of horror movies and responses to horror movies. And that's what this should have been. But books don't look as good for promotion and tenure and job applications in psychology as papers do. Maybe this is a problem with the system. What does it actually say about the reason we watch horror, right? Let's at least get through this section, and then maybe I should stop. Someone should write under Dr. I think there is at least one Dr. I personally happen to know somebody named Dr. Frankenstein. They have their PhD, and their last name is Frankenstein. Which is awesome. Write research in horror and call yourself Stephen Blood and write a paper about operational biology so your surname is Boss. I love that. Okay, let's at least read this why do people watch horror section, because that's the part that, like, I think that's why I chose this paper, because I wanted to read about why people watch horror. All right. They were destined for a PhD, right? And I'm so glad they followed that destiny. I'm so happy. They make me, just their existence sparks joy. Okay. Suspense has been defined as an acute, fearful apprehension about deplorable events that threatens liked protagonists, and an experience of uncertainty whose hedonistic property. What's your definition of suspense, though? The point of this is to synthesize the literature, not just quote random people. I want to hear your synthesis of all of the definitions of suspense that you've read, not just here's somebody's definition. That's not the point of a review paper. The point of a review paper is to synthesize the literature. They really should have written a book. I think it's great that they wrote this. I think it's in the wrong format. I think that this would have done great as a book. Anyway. I mean, that's my personal opinion, though. Like, I'm not saying that's, like, the gospel truth or an objective truth. But yeah, I think that this would have done a lot better if they had written it as a book than as an academic paper. Anyway, but I worry that, like, you know, career pressures might be why. With the word count, they could have just printed it out and bound it. I think, honestly, they, like, to make it a book, they would have had to flesh out the word count more than this. But I don't think they would have had any trouble doing that, considering. Okay, the tension created during the feeling of suspense can arise from events which signify conflict, dissonance, and instability. Okay, we're finally here. We're like a paragraph's worth of words into this, and we're finally getting to why people watch horror. One theory of horror enjoyment, excitation transfer theory. Ooh, that sounds fun. Argues that we derive our enjoyment of horror film from this feeling of suspense. This theory might also explain enjoyment of non-horror film, which involves invocation of suspense. When a threat is resolved, our negative affect converts to euphoria and suspense ends. The vital aspect of the series is that enjoyment is derived from the degree of negative affect built up during the exposure to the horror film and from the positive affect reaction that results from the resolution of threat. 32.92 words per minute. Incredible. With the word count, they could... Oh, I already read that. Yeah. This is interesting. So it's like catharsis. It's basically saying horror films provide emotional catharsis. If the resolution does not occur, then residual negative affect will lead to increased dysphoria. If there is no suspense, but a complete certainty about what will happen, suspense is replaced by dread. Very few studies have tested the theory, although limited reviews provide some support for the model. Zillman et al. Showed that children animated cartoons that varied in suspense and measured participants' facial expressions as suspense increased, as physiological arousal and cognitive responses. They found that liking a film increased as suspense increased. Liking was especially great when the threat was overcome, but the relationship between theory and liking was not examined. I like this. I like this. Oh, this is interesting. Born too late to write books in psychology to be respected. Born too early to make your research papers. Video essays. Born just in time to be confined to research papers. I would love to see this guy do a video essay on this. I would listen to that shit. Or a podcast. I wonder if I should look up if they have, but I hope that exists. I would love that. Individuals high in empathy will express more negative affect regardless of a successful resolution to threat in the film. Interesting. Presumably because they're reflecting the negative affect of the characters who are experiencing the threat. Zillman's model has some difficulty accounting for motivation to watch and for enjoyment of derived horror films in which the sympathetic characters are dispatched, that is, killed, and where the story does not end happily. That is true, because it's not providing the same sort of emotional catharsis, right? Of a satisfactory resolution to suspense. There's also evidence that enjoyment of horror may not be affected by availability of resolution, and that unresolved horror is perceived as just as enjoyable as resolved horror. That is interesting. I will note, though, that all of these papers are very old. That could just be because there's not a lot of literature on this. But I did find, like I said, earlier this week, I was looking at papers on related topics, and I did find related literature published in the past, 2 to 5 years. So, but again, I think this paper that we're reading right now was published before those papers. So maybe there's been a resurgence in study of this. But most of the papers that this review are citing are pretty old. I don't think I've seen one, at least recently, more recent than, oh, well, there's one from 2015. That's not super old. And I think this was published 2019. So that was fairly recent when this was published. Wanted to check Zillman paper. Uh-oh. It's Elsevier. Freaking Elsevier. My enemy. Zillman has argued that positive outcome for the protagonist and a poor one for the antagonist are key predictors of satisfaction with a film. We've read this before, or I've read that before when I've been looking at general media and communication papers. Oh yeah, caught a Swirlix. Is there any other mons you need? That's the only one I need. That's the only one I need. Thank you, Astral. All I need is a Swirlix that evolves into a Slurpuff. That is all. Literally, the only 2 Pokemon I'm missing from my Pokedex right now are Slurpuff and Zygarde, and I already know how to catch Zygarde. I just haven't gotten around to it. Thank you so much. If neither occurs but a threat is removed, this would lead to a satisfactory experience, but the experience would be diluted. So if, the threat is resolved, but there isn't, the threat is resolved, the danger goes away, but people are still suffering. Media parody the Bow tweet, but it says, be wary of big streamers approaching you to get your Pokemon. Does it count if Astral... I think Astral and I think I'd consider Astral a friend at this point, right? I think Astral and I have talked a lot about Pokemon before, okay? We've talked about Pokemon a lot before, so we've thoroughly discussed Pokemon before, long before I ever suggested, ever requested a potential trade. So I'm either really playing the long game, which would make no sense because we've been talking about Pokemon long before ZA even came out and stuff like that. Parasocial and Rurea. Astral and I have, I don't think it's, because Astral and I talk on a semi-regular basis, even outside of Discord servers, right? And, I'm Astral's model parent, right? So, I don't know, anyway. A positive outcome is, however, necessary for a cognitive switch from dysphoria to euphoria. There's no consistent evidence to support this view. There's no consistent evidence to support this view. So all of this is here's the thing that has been found. By the way, the evidence is not consistent. Myelin Bullying Club is spreading our wings. Soon it will include Myelin. It's only a matter of time. I mean, if I have given you all like approval to do that, right? Myelin traveled back in time to get me to give them a Swirlix rather than doing 10 battles to get another whip tree. I have already done 10 battles. Astral, why do you do this? I feel like I'm making a deal with the devil here for just to complete my Pokedex. Oh my god. I need to go to my other friends. It has no basis. What? I mean, it's a review. It's a review of the literature. So if this is literature, I think it's... I just wish they hadn't waited so long to say it has no basis. Or like there's no consistent evidence. Okay, CDM, take care. I wish they hadn't waited this long to say that. Like, I think it's fine that they said it because, like, you know, they're reviewing the literature. They're summarizing the literature. And I think it's fine to do that. I just wish they hadn't waited so long to say there's no consistent evidence. Wish they'd sort of led with that, you know? Yeah, but does it have prevalence in the field? Unclear. I'm kind of just trusting them on that. You know, we've kind of just got to take their word for it, unless we want to go into like a deep research dive. I don't think they're including every paper either. I think they're trying to include influential papers, and it does appear that, based on these citations, it does appear that this is a somewhat influential paper and that other people are citing it, right? Like, other people are citing this theory, other people are discussing things related to this theory, and in that sense, I think it's influential enough to justify including it here and talking about it, right? Especially when this is intended to be a review of the literature. I think that's totally justified to talk about it. I just wish that they had front-loaded the no consistent evidence. And I think they kind of put that in there a little bit, where they were, like, saying, like, this is contrary to Zillman's model, or like Zillman's model has some difficulty accounting for blah blah blah. Like, I think they're kind of foreshadowing that. I just wish that they had front loaded this a bit harder, you know? But I don't think it's necessarily bad. I'm nitpicking, I guess. Maybe I should become gatekeeping academia even harder. Yeah, I have a bad habit of nitpicking papers, and like I try not to nitpick too hard, and I try and, like, really emphasize that this isn't a fatal flaw with the paper itself. It's more a flaw for my personal enjoyment of the paper, and that's not necessarily a problem. Wait, I just got back, so we're reading this paper for 2.5 hours, and the end result is... Oh, we're not at the end result yet. No, we're still in the first half of the paper. Alex, I don't think we're going to finish this paper, to be honest. I was thinking maybe we'll do 2-part stream, and then I was like, after reading this far, I don't think I really want to finish this paper, to be honest. Like, maybe I'll finish it on my own time, but it's not really what I was hoping that it would be for the purposes of stream, you know? Peer review becomes one door always tells the truth, another door sends you to rewrite your... Ouch, yeah. Will there be a bird day stream? Do a bird day stream? Like, birthday... All the burbs? Maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna do for my birthday yet, so... Classic horror fan leaving the reveal of the resolution for the very end, right? We're at about 30%. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. I don't think we're gonna finish this paper. I think I decided we'll get to the end of this section. Actually, this... let's see how far we get. I don't know. Like, I want to get to at least the end of this section, though, but we've been going for a while now. When do I need to leave to start handing out candy, actually, now that I think about it? I've got about an hour until I need to leave to hand out candy, so I think the end of this section. Yeah, we'll finish this section out, and then we'll end stream, I think. And we probably won't come back to this paper, but if you do want to read the rest of this paper, I have the full APA-style citation and the link to the paper in the description. This is an open access paper, so everybody should be able to read it regardless of whether you're affiliated with an institution or not. Yeah. No, that's what I always tell my students about writing abstracts, is the abstract, like, there's no such thing as spoilers in academic papers. Like, abstracts are not book blurbs. You are supposed to... Abstracts are more like spark notes than they are blurbs. They are supposed to spoil the paper. The point of an abstract is to spoil the paper, right? Oh, cool. This goes right to the Cinder doc, into my too many letters. Oh, no. Oh, no. There's no consistent evidence to support this view, and the success of films where the threat is still very much present in some way at the end of the horror film, like The Exorcist, The Omen, Friday the 13th, and so on, and even in thrillers such as Basic Instinct and Presumed Innocence, suggests that this explanation may not account fully for why we watch and enjoy horror. Right, yeah. I think this is a good paragraph summing up the problems. I like this paragraph. It has been proposed that arousal itself may be self-rewarding. Arousal in psychology, by the way, just generally refers to, like, heightened levels of activation of, say, like the brain, just heightened alert, things like higher heart rates, more intense emotions. Arousal is a much more general term in psychology than it might be in, like, other areas. So it might be proposed that this sort of just heightened state of awareness and stuff might be self-rewarding. The act of watching horror provides us with a thrill, regardless of the resolution, and we like to enjoy the film for this reason. So we're thrill junkies, kind of. Like, we enjoy fear. We enjoy thrill. We enjoy things that get our heart rate up. Like, maybe it's sort of like a similar mechanism of why people enjoy roller coasters and stuff. The pleasurable experience of arousal, specific psychological arousal, not like, motivates us to continue watching in order to sustain that level of arousal. As Berline suggests, Sparks and Spirek, for example, found a positive correlation between skin conductance. So this is like conductance of sort of like electric charge across skin, which is a measure of emotional arousal. Like, this is a traditional psychological one way of a psychological measure of doing that, and self-reported arousal in people who watched a clip of A Nightmare on Elm Street, suggesting that the arousal we report also correlates at the physiological level, although whether psychophysiological charges determine the arousal. Okay, but it's okay, this has been proposed, but surely there are studies testing this, surely this would be a great place to test that, or like discuss those studies. They're just saying maybe this is the case, but they haven't actually. Why do people watch horror? The answer to this question is maybe we just like the thrill of it, but they cite no evidence that people enjoy the thrill of it. They've showed evidence that people experience some sort of thrill or psychological arousal while watching at least one horror movie. But their proposal that people enjoy horror movies because of the thrill is never addressed with actual evidence, even though I'm sure there must be papers looking at that, surely. Flashbacks to the Red Pillars misquoting a paper about sex differences in arousal because they don't know the difference between psychological arousal and the other one. I'm so sorry, Cleaver. I have no idea what I'm reading here. Is this a grad thesis? This is a published, peer-reviewed paper. This is. I feel like if this is a thesis, that would explain why it's so padded. Like, if this is a master's thesis or a dissertation, it would explain why it's so padded like this. But usually psychology master's theses and dissertations require you to do original research as opposed to just a review of the literature. So I wouldn't consider it that. Honestly, by this point, they need speculation and evidentiary. It's frustrating. It's kind of frustrating. Yeah, I think I'm kind of interested in the individual differences in horror section, but that is very long. Like, we can skim it. Maybe we should skim this. Maybe we should skim the rest, because I am also interested in this bit, and I would like to read it. Let's see how far we get, and I think I'll end at the 3-hour mark, and let's just see how far we get. And we're going to skim it. We're not going to read it in depth. Suspense and resolution of suspense are two important components, but I thought you just said... I thought individual differences just refer to traits that differ between people. It's not referring to like anecdotes or single individuals. It's just like, some people are more extroverted versus introverted, or some people like do more exercise than others. That's an individual difference. Should I stop tracking from this point? Sure. Unless you want to include the skimming, Astral, which would really raise my words per minute, which would be sweet. But it was a joke, yeah. Sorry, Cleaver. I figured it was a joke, but I was like, this is technically an educational channel, so why don't I define what individual differences are? Because not everybody might know what individual differences are. This seems like a great opportunity, but it's okay, Cleaver. I'm sure that you knew that. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that you didn't know that. Just like, I was just like, this seems like a good opportunity to drop some education. Why not? Sorry. Okay, but this is just the Zillman theory that you were saying wasn't supported very well by the evidence. A word per minute meta is finding a paper that uses many words to say little. You're so right, Torg. Oh, okay, yeah. No, Cleaver, you're fine. You're fine. Sorry. I'm sorry. I probably could have worded that better. But you just said Zillman wasn't supported. The Sag is at the death of communication in this infinite universe. Yeah, that's true. I'm back, more or less. Welcome back. We're just gonna skim from this point on, CDM. Okay. The vital aspect of this theory is that enjoyment is derived from a degree of negative affect built up during exposure to horror and from the positive affect reaction that results from... But you already said that doesn't fully explain this. Very few studies have tested it. We're back at the start of the same section you just finished. No, this... Oh, you're right. No, you're right. Sorry. Thank you, Torg. Yeah. Okay. How do horror audiences find pleasure in... Okay. You went back to... I accidentally went back to the old section. Sorry. We're back at the new section now. I got lost. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Unless a person expresses an interest or liking of horror, the response to graphic violence tends to not be positive. So only certain people enjoy this. Well, now I want to see Mylan play Silk Song. Why? Why? Will I get lost? Running around for 3 hours? It could happen. Randomly assign 400 people to one of 3 groups who watched either clips from 5 television programs showing graphic violence, sanitized violence, or violence removed. The non-violent programs were regarded as more enjoyable than the violent versions, a finding which is consistent with earlier research indicating that removing violent content from a film does not reduce enjoyment. So most people don't enjoy watching violence. This tracks. This is consistent with other psychological research I'm familiar with. A meta-analysis of the enjoyment of media violence, not horror films specifically, found the greater selective exposure to violence leads to reduction in enjoyment of its content. The greater selective exposure to violence, so choosing to watch violent media, leads to a reduction in enjoyment of its so the more violent, so people don't like watching violent media, and the more violent media they see, the less they enjoy it. Weird. That feels kind of contradictory. This implication of the finding appears to be that even though individuals may seek out exposure to violent media, they do not enjoy what they find. That's weird. Seeking out something that you don't enjoy, but that does sound like a kind of thing that humans would do in weird ways. Participants may vary according to the degree of material they're routinely exposed to. It's interesting in the research of the presence of explicit violence alters the ways we enjoy stuff. Yeah, and that does seem to be the case, in that exposure to explicit violence reduces enjoyment of violence, but for some reason some people still seek it out. It could be there's a moderator here where some people seek out violence because they enjoy watching it, but most people like watching violence less, and then watching it, the people who seek out violence enjoy it less the more they watch it because, you know, it's just kind of like getting used to it, and like it's not as novel and exciting anymore. 33.66 words for... That's a pretty good one. The implication of this finding appears to be that blah, blah, blah. When graduate nursing students and psychology students were shown... This isn't horror, though. For example, the nurses expressed less disgust and fear, but more sadness with the graphic stuff. Both groups, however, showed evidence of psychophysiological arousal by skin response. So... Okay, but that's not horror. That's just gore. Sensation seeking. Yeah, this makes sense. Sensation seeking is the seeking of varied, novel, complex, and intense sensations and experiences, and the willingness to take physical, social, legal, and financial risks for the sake of such experiences. Adrenaline junkie, I guess you could put it, but maybe a bit broader than just adrenaline junkie, but similar concept. Peaks in teenage years, declines thereafter, blah, blah, blah. If you watch violence a lot, violence that might have been exciting early on seems less exciting over time. This seems... Yeah, Torg. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that is one possible explanation for the finding. So most people don't like violence. Some people seek out violence, but even the people who seek out violence enjoy it less the more they see it, because they get used to it. It's less novel. It's less exciting. It doesn't bring the same thrill it once did. Okay, but does sensation seeking associate with enjoyment of horror? High sensation-seeking individuals would also be less vulnerable to experience of threat in films because they need more stimulus to get the same thrill. Yeah, so a negative stimulus like a horror film might, therefore, be interpreted by a person high in sensation seeking as very positive, but a person low in sensation seeking would find the stimulus unpleasant. So if you are high in sensation seeking, you might enjoy horror because it gives you the sensations that you are seeking out. It gives you intense sensations of things like fear and tension and anxiety. All 4 factors of sensation seeking have been found to predict enjoyment of a horror film to some extent, but some are better than others. Disinhibition, so lowering inhibitions and having lower inhibitions, appears to be the strongest predictor of horror films. I wonder why. Followed by experience seeking, thrill and adventure seeking, and boredom susceptibility. Presumably that's the order of the strength. I would have expected thrill and adventure seeking would have been the biggest predictor, but apparently not. But this is only one paper, and it's kind of old. As was reported, a positive correlation between high sensation seeking in general and interest in horror film. Makes sense. People who want to experience sensations go to films that are intended to invoke intense emotion. Positive correlation between liking horror and a combination of... So this seems to be fairly consistent. Found that frequency of horror film attendance correlated with disinhibition, thrill, and adventure seeking, but in men only. So this particular study found sensation seeking was correlated with going to see horror films, but only for men. Weird. Important constraint on the model that is individual differences may interact with sensation-seeking type. Oh, the Weaver paper seems to talk about seeking the forbidden fruit, about seeking out violence. That makes sense. People are very interested in the forbidden. And not necessarily liking what you find. Oh yeah, so you're looking for forbidden things for that thrill, but you may not actually like what you see when you find it. That is a very funny thing and makes sense. That tracks with sensation-seeking. Yeah. Here's another one. Finding sensation-seeking was positively correlated with enjoyment in frightening films in men and women. However, it predicted enjoyments differently. Thrill and adventure seeking were best predictor for men, whereas disinhibition was the best predictor for women. So this one was like sensation seeking predicts horror enjoyment for both men and women, but different aspects of it work depending on gender. Interesting. Other studies have reported no positive correlation with sensation seeking and liking and enjoyment of horror films. This isn't necessarily specifically about horror films. This is more about curiosity. This is morbid curiosity. Morbid curiosity being associated with disinhibition and psychopathy, but not necessarily sensation seeking. Okay, actually wants to know what disinhibition means in this case. Disinhibition, I do wish that they had defined it better here, exactly what they mean by disinhibition. But disinhibition means, I guess you could think of it like lowered inhibitions, lower impulse control kind of deal. Like you are less held back by concerns about social norms. You're less held back by concerns about potential consequences. That's my general understanding of disinhibition. Mylin, have you watched any horror films? Yes, I have watched horror films. I haven't watched as many as I'd like, but I am a fan of the genre, so I absolutely have watched horror films. I just have really strict preferences on the type of horror that I like, unfortunately, and the type of horror that I like is kind of rare, and a lot of horror films tend to include things that I really dislike that aren't necessarily integral to the horror bit. So I haven't seen as much horror as I'd like, but I have watched horror films, absolutely. There's also the question of whether men and women inherently experience horror differently, or if gender dynamics in most horror media affect how men and women engage with those products. Right, Torg? I agree. Like, it could be how gender is portrayed in media. It could be just socialization and general experiences of fear and expected responses to fear from different genders. That's kind of what I'm thinking about, like, the men being predicted by thrill and adventure seeking. The general expectations of men is that men should be brave and they should go out and fight, and like stereotypical gender socialization. So it makes sense that that would predict for men, whereas disinhibition is the predictor for women is interesting. Like, I wonder if gender socialization, portrayal of gender in horror, like all these different things might influence in it. What's your favorite horror film? I think off the top of my head, Cabin in the Woods is my favorite horror film. I think. I really like things that get meta. I like things that get meta, and Cabin in the Woods absolutely gets meta, and I enjoy that. So you act on the... I'm not talking about Freud, please no. Let's see. In study of enjoyment of fear experience into video gaming. So we're getting into video games too. Men reported more enjoyment of violent video games and played more video games and played more often. There's a lot of interesting things when it comes to gender differences in video gaming, like, and defining what counts as a video game, and like, that's a whole thing. Sensation seeking and enjoyment were positively correlated, with high sensation seekers reporting less frequent fear, although P equals point, oh, that's rough. P equals point, that is rough. And low empathizers enjoying violent games more. Low empathizers also played more, but did not play more frequently. What is that? So they had longer play sessions? Does that mean? Like, they didn't have as many they didn't have more play sessions, but their play sessions went longer? I think it's equal in volume nowadays, but I don't have a source for that. Yeah, I think one of the reasons as well, like, that women are perceived... I've seen some papers showing that, like, women are perceived less as gamers because women tend to play different types of games than men, like mobile games. And mobile games are seen kind of as less valid and less of, like, a video game. Even they are a mobile game. They are a video game. It's just a different platform, but they're seen, like, most people wouldn't count them as video games in, like, the gamer sense, and therefore women tend to be underrepresented, even though they play games just as much, kind of deal. I wonder if there could be a demographic study about video game enjoyment that methodologically tracks how players acquired games. I bet. I'm sure that would be interesting. That would be neat. I bet, like, game companies have done that. Cozy games are getting bigger nowadays, true. Resident Evil is the most commonly played game, and the game's inclusion of zombies and surprises was cited as a cause of fear and fright. Agency in such games, however, appears to be important for the experience of the game. Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. Agency in the game, your ability to control outcomes makes it scarier. When players were asked to watch or play a horror game, Konami's PT, players showed increased heart rate and galvanic skin response compared to participants who watched. There were no differences in the two groups of self-reported fear. So, like, the physiological arousal was higher when you were actually playing, but self-reported subjective fear appeared about the same. Speaking of gender and horror games, it sounds like there's some really interesting stuff going on in Silent Hill F. I haven't played it myself, but my partner is super big into it and has already gotten all the endings. I had a former friend ramble about non-games before. Ugh. Yeah. And that whole discourse is just exhausting to me. While sensation seeking might be strongly associated with enjoyment of horror, it may not be the strongest predictor of attendance at horror films. Attending a horror film in a U.S. Midwestern, men and younger participants scored highest on sensation seeking scale, but that men and women attended for different reasons. So perhaps gender affects the type of reasons, or different genders have different reasons for seeking out horror. Although I have a love-hate relationship with cozy games, I don't like that the games with low gameplay depth are now associated with it, instead of there being a new niche for midcore. Men attended because they sought sensation and to experience destructive nature of horror, while women attended because they wanted to experience a just ending. So the women thing is more consistent with that one theory they were mentioning earlier. Was this the Zuckerman theory? But men were seeking it out for reasons other than the Zuckerman theory. More important than sensation seeking appeared to be participants' expectations. The greatest predictor of film attendance was not sensation seeking, but a desire to experience a satisfying resolution and to see destruction. Interesting. So there is a kind of catharsis thing going on there, just maybe not as uniformly the one Zimmerman had predicted. Video games are games you need a specific equipment to play, and the more specific equipment you need, the more video gamey it is. The most real video game is an arcade game with one surviving cabinet. I love that. That's Pharisaium. Okay, but did they actually seek it out, or did they seek it out for that reason? Or did they say they sought it out for that reason? That's a good question. Who knows? I think this is the point where I said that I was going to stop. And I think I do need to, like, get some downtime before, and, like, also I need to, like, get dressed in a fun costume before I go and hand out candy. Because what's the point of Halloween if you don't, like, dress a little, like, spooky intentionally? So I think I'm gonna cut it here. I think this is where we're going to stop. But if you are interested in reading the rest of the article, it is linked in the description of the stream, so you can find it there. Polybius is the most video games of video games. Maybe give us candy and read the paper. Have fun, candy. I will. I'll also put there's the link to the paper right there. Maybe I probably should have pinned this a long time ago, but there. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming to the stream. I really enjoyed talking with you. This is very, very fun. And even if maybe we didn't get as much out of the paper as I'd been hoping we would, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed spending time with y'all. So thank you all so much for coming, for joining. Thank you, Astral. Thank you all. Have a happy Halloween. Take care, have fun dressing up in candy. I will. Thank you, Cheris. This is a nice. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you can play. Oh my gosh, thanks for this. Thank you all. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, and I will see you at some unspecified point in the future. Bye bye.